Chapter 49:11. Now that he was on guard, Zichen's golden sword light could no longer harm Pieser, so he had to use the Rune Dao sword. However, there was only one chance. Zichen had been waiting patiently, waiting for an opportunity. Now he seized the opportunity. The Rune Dao sword instantly broke through the golden bell rune, catching Pieser by surprise. However, it did not pierce through his forehead to deal a fatal blow. At the critical moment, the golden bell protected its master again. The runes it emitted caused the Dao sword to change direction and pierce into Pieser's body. However, in that instant, countless runes surged in his body, forming a terrifying destructive power. Pieser was heavily injured. Swish! The Rune Dao sword turned into a ray of light and flew back to Zichen. The golden bell protected its master again and again, making him very angry. However, Zichen also knew that it was because his strength was too low. Even if he had advanced to the middle realm, the golden bell would not have been able to avoid the Dao sword even if it wanted to protect its master. Zichen's flowing blade appeared and slashed down from afar. The blade light swept towards Pieser like a waterfall. The golden bell rippled and blocked the attack again. Then, Zichen saw that the heavily injured Pieser had actually turned and fled. He was stunned. He did not expect the other party to make such a choice. However, it was understandable. Under such circumstances, no matter how great the opportunity here was, how could it compare to one's own life? Zichen did not hesitate and chased after him. Only by killing Pieser would he be able to obtain the fortuitous encounter with peace of mind. Swish! In this world, the vegetation was lush and ancient trees towered into the sky. It was a scene out of this world. Pieser flew through the sky like a ray of light. He was heavily injured, and blood flowed from his wounds to the ground. Swish! The golden soul remembrance sword light flew over and was blocked by the golden bell. A long bell sound echoed in this world. Because he had already used the runes underground, Zichen could only obediently chase after him. There was no terrain to use. Even if Pieser was injured, his speed was still faster than Zichen. This was a huge problem. Of course, if others knew that Zichen, who was only at the initial realm of the trial, was chasing after a higher realm, their jaws would probably drop. Swish! Whoosh! The two of them transformed into rays of light and flew out of this space. Zichen was unwilling to give up. There was indeed a lot of good stuff here. He had deliberately left a mark here so that he could come back here after killing Pico. Piccolo, aren't you very capable? Stop. Let's fight for 300 rounds. Aren't you embarrassed to run away as a high-level cultivator? You can't even beat me, who is at the initial realm of the trial. If I were you, I would definitely kill myself. Peacock, why aren't you saying anything? Hey, Xiaopi, are you mute? Zichen chased after him, not forgetting to provoke him with words. Pico was fuming, but he did not stop, no matter how much Zichen tried to provoke him. Xiaopi, you weren't like this before. As he spoke, a golden soul remembrance flew out. Zichen was still using his killing move. The golden bell rippled and blocked the attack. Zichen looked at the golden bell that had ruined his plans several times and said angrily, "You idiot! Don't you know who your master is?" Of course, the golden bell did not respond and stood guard beside Pico. All of a sudden, Pico, who was in front of him, punched out and shattered the void. Zichen's expression changed when he saw this. What? You still want to run? The golden soul remembrance turned into a ray of light and shot towards the crack. Dang! The bell rang loudly and blocked the ray of light. Pico was unable to escape and continued to flee. You're already injured, and your injuries will only get worse. Let's see how you'll control the golden bell then. Zichen, who was still chasing, suddenly had a bad feeling. However, he could not figure out what exactly went wrong. Pico was already heavily injured. If this continued, the situation would be in his favor. The golden bell would not be able to last much longer. But where did this bad feeling come from? When Pico shattered the void, He did not manage to escape. However, someone did. More accurately, it was a spiritual body. It was Luan Duo, whose physical body had been destroyed by Zichin. Under the cover of Pieser, he left the void and flew in the direction of Peace City. This place was not very far from Peace City. "My lord, you must hold on." Luan Duo was frantically increasing his speed. At this moment, he still could not believe that Lord Pikol was being chased by Zichin to the point where he had nowhere to go and had to ask for his help. How did that guy, who he had almost killed last time, become so strong all of a sudden? Peace City finally appeared in front of him. He quickly flew into the city and shouted with his soul power. Zichin obtained a precious treasure that far surpasses the golden bell. Furthermore, he discovered a huge world with countless resources. At first, Peace City was still relatively calm. However, as soon as Luan Duo shouted those words, many auras instantly landed on him. It's true. Zichin is using that precious treasure to chase after Lord Pikol. That precious treasure is very powerful. Even Lord Pikol, who has the golden bell, is no match for it. Luan Duo shouted again. His goal was simple. He wanted to lure everyone there. Swoosh! A ray of light suddenly appeared. A person stared at Luan Duo. "Are you sure?" "I'm 100% sure," Luan Duo said solemnly. He knew that this person was the owner of the golden bell. "Where is it? Lead the way," the person immediately urged. Luan Duo was a little hesitant because he wanted to bring more people over, not just one person. "Cut the crap and lead the way." At this moment, a young man appeared. He looked at the hesitant Luan Duo and said impatiently, it was the young man who had set up a trap to test Zichin. He had the biggest golden bell. Following that, rays of light appeared one after another. From the looks of it, more than half of the people in the city would be here soon. Still not leading the way? A hint of coldness appeared in the young man's eyes. "My lord, please follow me." Seeing more and more people, Luan Duo hurriedly led the way. "You're too slow." At this moment, a high-level cultivator stepped forward, swept up Luan Duo's soul, and flew out of the city. The other people in the city also followed one after another. They were still very curious about the treasure that surpassed the golden bell. In addition, the person said that he had discovered a world. They might be able to gain something from it. Recently, there were many famous worlds like this. There might be something from the immortal spell world in it. Alva and the others also came out when they heard the news. However, when they saw the dense crowd, they still couldn't believe it. Did Zichin really obtain a precious treasure and was chasing after Pikol? They were all too familiar with Pikol. They hated him to the core. However, Pikol's combat power was really strong. Was Zichin really chasing after him? Don't just stand there. Hurry up and take a look. Chapter 49:12. Helen left first. Alva and the rest followed the crowd, but they still couldn't believe what they had just heard. Zichin was chasing after Pieser. After all, Pieser had brought them a lot of trouble over the years. In the last expedition, he had almost killed them twice. Didn't Zichin go back? Why is he fighting with Pieser? Big Beard couldn't understand. Could it be that Pieser has been waiting outside? Alva's expression changed. So he chased after Zichin as soon as he left? Luo Xiao said, I don't care about that. I'm just curious. How did Zichin chase after Pieser? Is that scum scared out of his wits and begging for mercy? The others nodded, feeling deeply moved. Soon, everyone in the city left. There were even more people than the last time they went to explore the divine rune world. Black Dragon looked at the crowd and frowned. Isn't this a little too big? A middle-aged man beside him said, before the city lord left, he told us not to make any mistakes. Do you want to go, or should I? I'll go. Black Dragon's figure flashed as he followed. Xiaopi, you've been running for so long. Don't you feel ashamed? Don't you want that mysterious place from before? Xiaopi, I don't want to criticize you, but your running posture is too ugly. You're a disgrace to a high-level cultivator. At first, the crowd didn't believe it. However, as Luan Duo led them into the void, they heard the conversation as they stood in the void. Although it was a conversation, it was actually Zichen talking and chasing after him. Pieser, a high-level cultivator, was running and listening. He didn't respond at all. Everyone was dumbfounded. It was actually true. An initial-level cultivator was chasing a high-level cultivator. Pieser was in a sorry state. He was covered in blood and his aura was weak. But when he sensed the arrival of reinforcements, he regained his spirit and laughed. Come quickly. Zichen has a treasure on him. It's even more powerful than the golden bell. Zichen, who originally had a smile on his face, now had an ugly expression on his face. Previously, he had felt that there was a problem, but he couldn't figure out what the problem was. He ignored Luan Duo's soul. Luan Duo had gone to look for someone. Pikol held the golden bell in his hand. His aura was very weak. It was obvious that he would not be able to hold on for long. However, Zichen couldn't kill him because everyone was surrounding him. What did you just say? I didn't hear you clearly. Pieser tidied up his blood-stained clothes and tried to speak as calmly as possible. Do you want to have a heart-to-heart talk with me? I'll wait for you here. Come closer. Come hear my ass. Zichen was so angry that he wanted to bite someone. If he stopped now, he would be courting death. He turned around and ran. Don't run. Look at me, I'm about to die. Hang in there. Pieser caught up with him from behind. Just like that, the tables were turned. Zichen didn't say anything. He just kept running, not forgetting to recover his energy. Wait, don't go. Weren't you shouting that you wanted to kill me? Now that I'm here, don't go. Pieser followed behind, holding the golden bell tightly in his hand. At the moment, he was also using words to mock Zichen, not caring about his reputation as a higher realm cultivator. In the void, many people were listening and were speechless. This guy is really shameless. He was running just now, but now he's acting wildly just because he has more people, Alva said with a look of disdain. What should we do now? The Qian brothers were dumbfounded. Now, Zichen was running and the others were chasing. With their strength and means, they couldn't stop everyone. Follow him first and wait and see, Luo Shao said. Luo Shao said from the side, perhaps only the City Lord of Peace City could stop this situation. Kid, leave the thing behind. An initial realm cultivator blocked Zichen's path with a cold gaze. Scram! Zichen roared angrily. His speed did not decrease as he directly charged forward. If he dared to stop, the people behind him would definitely catch up. Bang! He crashed into the initial realm cultivator without slowing down at all. The initial realm cultivator was sent flying by Zichen. As he was sent flying, the initial realm cultivator coughed up blood and a look of shock appeared on his face. Both of them were at the same realm, but the result of the collision was so shocking. Those who stop me will die. Zichen's eyes were full of killing intent. Luan Duo had brought so many people here for the item on him. Not to mention how many people were here to watch the show. The people with the golden bells alone wouldn't let him go, especially the young man who had schemed against him earlier. He was now eyeing him covetously. Therefore, after releasing his powerful soul power, Zichen deliberately avoided the people with the golden bells. Stop! A saber light came from the front, chopping towards Zichen in the air. After shattering the blade light with a punch, Zichen's expression became even colder. Don't say I didn't warn you. At this moment, a sneer was heard. You still want to threaten everyone at this point? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? Just as this voice was heard, another initial realm cultivator blocked his way. This person was none other than Jeffron, who had been defeated by Zichen previously. He stood in front of Zichen and sneered at Zichen. I was careless last time and was ambushed by you. Watch how I kill you now. He pointed forward with one hand, and the void around Zichen fluctuated. Energy similar to flowing water appeared out of thin air and turned into a large hand that grabbed at Zichen. Whoosh! Zichen instantly accelerated and dodged the attack. Jeffron, get lost. I don't want to kill you. Zichen was really angry, but he restrained himself for the sake of his brother. Humph. Come at me if you dare. Jeffron snorted disdainfully and attacked again, this time with an even fiercer attack. While Zichen used the thunder escape technique to dodge, he also shouted, Jeffron, tell your brother to retreat quickly, or it will be a life and death battle. There was no response, and Jeffron seemed to be absent. Come at me if you dare. Let's see who will die today. Jeffron's eyes became extremely cold. Today I will kill you. He attacked again and again, blocking Zichen's path. Zichen shouted twice more, but Jeffron still did not respond. A murderous intent flashed in Zichen's eyes, and he pointed at his forehead. Buzz! With a tremor, the golden soul sword flew out of Zichen's sea of consciousness and directly attacked Jeffron. No one could block such an attack. Even Pieser could not, let alone Jeffron. The sword light entered his sea of consciousness, and the sneer on his face froze. The energy surrounding his body disappeared instantly, and his body fell into the void. He had lost his vitality. Instant kill. Brother. Chapter 49:13. Just as the golden sword light killed Jeffriong, the expressions of the other initial realm cultivators who were approaching changed drastically. Jeffrin was killed in a single exchange. They would have done the same if they were in his place. A Berserk Heaven's choice realm aura surged from behind. It was Jeffrey. He was angry. Jeffrey had been watching the show and completely disdained Chen's warning. He didn't think that Chen could do anything to his younger brother. In the current situation, if Chen dared to pause, someone would instantly catch up. The result was obvious. Although his younger brother was defeated last time, it was no problem for him to stop Zichen for a moment. Moreover, as a Heaven's Choice realm cultivator, he naturally wouldn't go up himself. That would be a loss of face. There were still many Heaven's Choice realm cultivators around, but most of them were here to watch the show. They were curious about the so-called treasure and wouldn't go so far as to directly take it. Unexpectedly, his younger brother was killed in a single exchange. He was furious, but because he was watching from afar, he was far away from Zichen. It would be difficult for him to quickly catch up to Zichen. Stop him for me! Jeffrey angrily shouted. Whoever can stop him will be rewarded with a complete Heaven's Choice army. A complete Heaven's Choice army was a truly valuable item in this world. It must be known that the broken swords Zichen obtained were also Heaven's Choice grade, but they were all broken, so their power was reduced. But a complete one was different. It was extraordinarily powerful. The ring in Zichen's hand was a Heaven's Choice grade. Even Pieser, with his powerful physical body, couldn't shatter it. With such a tempting reward, there were naturally people eager to try. Some initial realm cultivators who had stopped moving forward immediately rushed toward Zichen with greed in their eyes. Seeing these people, Zichen didn't try to dissuade them because it was meaningless. These people wanted to use their lives to exchange for the reward, so there was no need to let them live. Killing intent flashed in his eyes, and the golden sword light appeared in his sea of consciousness. Swish! The golden light shot forward like lightning and entered the sea of consciousness of an initial realm cultivator. That initial realm cultivator raised his head and fell into the void. He was dead. Whoa! Zichen's sea of consciousness was shaking. Golden sword lights kept appearing, dazzling and powerful, spreading in all directions. In the face of such an attack, these initial realms who wanted the reward could not dodge at all and were hit one after another. Once the sword light entered the sea of consciousness, death was certain. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen initial realm cultivators had died. Everyone else stopped and looked at Zi-chan in horror. This killing power was simply too terrifying. Behind him, Arwa and the others were also shocked. They had not expected Zi-chan to have grown to such a level. Zi-chan rushed past, and everyone retreated in fear. The initial realm cultivators didn't dare to move forward, but the middle realm cultivators could. After a moment of hesitation, they decided to bet on Zi-chen's path. At the very front was Yusef, who had fought Zi-chen before. He was on the same team as Jeffrey, and he had lost to Zi-chen the last time, so he was working very hard to chase after him. He used the heavenly flame, Devil Tiger. He didn't expect to kill Zi-chen. He only wanted to delay him for a moment and let Jeffrey catch up. The killing intent in Zi-chen's eyes did not decrease. The golden sword light flashed and attacked Yusef. Facing this move, Yusef snorted. Soul power also appeared in his sea of consciousness, forming a light shield in front of him. Obviously, he was quite confident that he would be able to stop Zi-chen at this moment. Pieser saw this scene from behind and couldn't help but shake his head. Even he couldn't block Zi-chen's soul remembrance attack, let alone this middle realm cultivator. However, he had no intention of reminding the other party. If more people died in Peace City, it would only be good for Immortal Slaughter City. Moreover, looking at the current situation, it was clearly impossible for him to snatch the light sword. Therefore, the more people Zi-chen offended, the less likely it was for him to survive. Now he only hoped that Zi-chen would die. As the golden sword light approached, Yusef sneered. The light shield protected him, while the heavenly flame, Devil Tiger, charged at Zi-chen. There was a difference of one realm between the two sides. He was confident that he could block Zi-chen. At this moment, with a crack, the soul light shield instantly shattered. The golden sword light didn't slow down and entered Yusef's sea of consciousness. Yusef's expression froze, and the heavenly flame Devil Tiger that was charging forward dissipated into thin air. Zi-chen didn't slow down and flew over Yusef's head. Yusef, who had turned into a corpse, fell into the void. When the other middle realms saw this, their expressions changed again, and they no longer dared to move forward. A powerful middle realm cultivator was killed in a single exchange. How terrifying was his soul power! They could only watch as Zi-chen flew past them. At this moment, not to mention the middle realms, even the high realms were shocked. Originally, there were 3 high realms blocking Zi-chen's escape route, but now they were hesitating. Heaven's chosen soldiers were good things, but they were more important than their lives. It would be good if they could block Zi-chen, but what if they couldn't? They would lose their lives. At this moment, everyone had to look at Zi-chen seriously. To be able to chase Pieser to the point of asking for help, he was indeed extraordinary. Alva and the others who followed behind were also shocked. Zi-chen's battle prowess had already far surpassed theirs, and was not any weaker than Helen's. After all, Zi-chen was only at the initial realm. Jeffrey was still chasing, and when he saw that no one was stopping Zi-chen, he shouted angrily. Further behind, many Heaven's chosen realms were watching the show. Someone immediately laughed. Jeffrey, you can't catch up for a long time. No, don't chase, lest you make a fool of yourself. That's right. A dignified Heaven's chosen realm cultivator can't even catch up to a trial realm cultivator. This is a big loss of face. Jeffrey was usually very rude and unreasonable. Naturally, there were people who didn't like him and deliberately mocked him. Jeffrey's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. He used an unknown secret technique, and his speed instantly doubled. He quickly closed the distance between him and Zi-chen. Zi-chen felt the abnormality behind him, and his expression changed. At this moment, he discovered the aura left behind, and his eyes lit up. The next moment, he sped up and saw the fragment. Die! At this moment, Jeffrey attacked from afar. The void instantly lit up, and a palm print appeared above Zi-chen's head. A terrifying pressure filled the surroundings and affected Zi-chen's speed. Looking at the fragment not far away, Zi-Chun gritted his teeth and decided to take this attack head-on. At this moment, a figure suddenly approached, and the gravity around them changed. Zi-Chun felt the pressure lessen, and Boss Helen slashed at the sky with her broadsword. The broadsword light met the palm print and exploded. A powerful aura surged, and Helen flew backward, blood flowing through the void. Helen's obstruction bought time for Zi-Chun. He quickly entered the fragment world. Although the others didn't dare to stop Zi-Chun, they still followed. When they saw Zi-Chun enter the fragment world, they were all stunned. There is indeed a fragment world. Go in quickly. There might be something good inside. Recently, there have been many high-level worlds appearing. This time, it might be a high-level world too. Chapter 49:14. Entering this world again, Zi-Chun sped up and ran forward. During this time, he sensed the remaining divine runes in this world. Only by luring them in and diverting everyone's attention would Zi-Chun be able to escape. Everyone followed him. When they saw the full picture of this world, they all exclaimed. There were many buildings and caves halfway up the mountain. It should have been a large sect in the past. As expected, they were no longer interested in Zi-Chun. Instead, they all landed in the remaining buildings and caves, looking for possible opportunities. When Jeffrey came in, he was too late. He could no longer sense Zi-Chun's aura. All he could see were collapsed buildings and people looking for treasures. Zi-Chun! Jeffrey shouted. His killing intent stirred up the sky. The whole space was trembling. Those who came in later all went around Jeffrey and turned into flowing lights to look for treasures. Helen also came in. Because it was too short, she had not broken through. She had blocked Jeffrey's attack and was already injured. No matter where you are hiding, I will find you and kill you. Jeffrey gritted his teeth. He couldn't allow his brother to die without knowing the reason behind it. Before that, I will collect some interest. He suddenly attacked. The sky darkened as a palm print covered the sky. Under the palm print, there was a person standing. It was the injured Helen. She did not expect Jeffrey to suddenly attack her. Helen's face was pale. She mobilized the energy around her, and the heavy saber in her hand released a dazzling light. She slashed the saber at the sky. The gravity in the space was constantly changing. However, there was a difference of 1 level between them. In addition, Helen was already injured. The saber radiance dissipated as soon as it touched the palm print. The palm print's power did not diminish. It slapped toward Helen's head. Helen could only look on helplessly as the palm print fell. She was already powerless to dodge. Right at this moment, a black shadow appeared beside Helen. He gently raised his hand towards the sky and made a gesture of lifting up. Without a powerful aura, the palm print hovered in the sky 100 feet above his head. It could not move forward. In the next moment, the palm print dissipated. The surging energy dispersed. After his attack was blocked, Jeffrey's eyes were filled with killing intent. However, when he saw who it was, his expression changed drastically. Not far away, the expressions of some of the onlookers also changed. No matter what you say, Peace City is a place where reason prevails. Otherwise, how could it have developed until now? The other party looked at Jeffrey. You can't throw away what you have because of a few unreasonable troublemakers. Jeffrey immediately cupped his fists towards the other party, and all of his killing intent vanished. This was because the person who had come was Black Dragon. The Black Dragon could represent the order of Peace City. Black Dragon turned his head to look at the side of the sky where Piker and Luanduo were standing. It's just a small trial realm, but it has already turned our Peace City into a mess. It seems like the Immortal Slayer City is still better in terms of the human heart. I don't dare. Piesser hurriedly cupped his fists, and so did Luanduo. It was necessary to show respect to such an expert. Since you're also from Peace City, I'll spare your life if you leave the golden bell behind. Black Dragon's tone gradually turned cold. Put down the golden bell and leave quickly. My lord, this isn't appropriate. Piesur's expression changed. He didn't expect this lord to want his golden bell. What's wrong? Black Dragon asked with a smile. According to the rules, the item should belong to whoever obtains it. Piesur cupped his fists. My lord, you can't break the rules. This is the rule of our Peace City. It doesn't apply to the people of the Immortal Slayer City, Black Dragon said. Moreover, the rules are used to protect those who abide by them, not to provide shelter for those who break them. My lord Black Dragon, aren't you worried that our Lord Bunan will come to seek justice for bullying me, a trial realm cultivator from the Immortal Slayer City? Piesur's attitude suddenly became unyielding. Black Dragon's gaze gradually turned cold. Is my attitude too good? Am I giving you face? Seeing that Black Dragon was angry, Piesur didn't say anything else. He immediately took out the golden bell, put it down, and turned to leave. He didn't kill Zichen, and he didn't even get the golden bell. This time he really suffered a great loss. The golden bell floated there, but no one dared to go up and take it. This was the deterrence of Black Dragon. Black Dragon glanced at Jeffrey. It's yours. Consider it compensation for this incident. Actually, you don't deserve any compensation. You brought this upon yourself. Then, Black Dragon looked at Helen and frowned slightly. Your realm is too low. How can you protect the people you want to protect? I know, Helen replied. This world isn't small. There should be a lot of opportunities. Everyone, let's go and look for opportunities. Black Dragon, who had spoken, also walked forward. He was also somewhat interested in this world. Jeffrey took the golden bell. No matter how unwilling he was, he didn't dare to say anything at the moment. Black Dragon had already determined his position. Although he gave him the golden bell as compensation, he obviously didn't think he was in the right. The young man with the largest golden bell stared ahead. No one knew what he was thinking. Your talent is not bad, but you have to know your limits. You have to think about the rules of Peace City, and you have to respect them. Otherwise, one day, when you want to use them, you'll find that you've become that guy. Black Dragon suddenly appeared beside the young man. The young man knew that Black Dragon was reminding him of what happened last time. He smiled carelessly and said, I can't stand hypocrites, so I want to know what he got. Don't worry, I know my limits. Even if he was a coward last time, he wouldn't have killed anyone. You're on your own. Black Dragon's figure disappeared. Seeing Black Dragon disappear, the young man scratched his head and sneered. You're teaching me a lesson. The city lord isn't here. Do you think you're the city lord? Clang! He took out the golden bell and shook it. Ripples spread out, and a large number of buildings disappeared. Cries of alarm rang out. The nearby people quickly fled. An initial realm cultivator was too slow and lost his flesh in an instant, turning into a skeleton. The young man smiled disdainfully. The young man held back. The skeleton turned into a ray of light and flew away. Although he didn't die, he was heavily injured. The others looked at the young man in fear. The young man mocked. The rules of Peace City don't apply here. Go die far away. Hearing this, the crowd scattered. Zichen entered the largest chain of divine patterns. This place was relatively well preserved, so perhaps there would be good things. Most importantly, if Jeffrey caught up to him, the divine patterns here could help him block some of the attacks. After entering this divine pattern, Zichen took out the black stone. He knew that it was a treasure. When exploring, Zichen would always bring it with him. Once there was something good, it would guide him. Zichen didn't recognize some of the divine patterns, but this didn't stop him from walking through them, because one method could lead to all other methods. Borrowing the power of the divine seal, he walked through the veins of the divine patterns without damaging them in the slightest. This place was indeed very well preserved. Even if the world was shattered, the divine patterns were still intact. Zichen was very sure that there was an opportunity here. Chapter 49:15. The divine patterns here were complete and had not been damaged at all. It was obvious that no one had come in after so many years. The spiritual energy here was rich, and hundreds of flowers were in full bloom. The short trees meandered, and their roots were as strong as dragons. The environment was quiet and beautiful. Zichen saw people here. Dead people. Many dead people. They were all women, wearing pure white clothes that were untainted by even a speck of dust. Every single one of their appearances were beautiful and unmatched, standing in different places. Some of them had peaceful smiles on their faces, while others were gathered together and seemed to be conversing. It looked like a frozen picture, and Zichen was like a stranger who had barged into the picture. They were all dead. Before they died, there should be no warning, and they still maintain their original expressions. Zichen could not imagine what kind of power would be able to kill them if the divine inscriptions were not activated. Moreover, they did not notice. Their expressions were calm and normal. It was obvious that they had all died suddenly. Zichen looked at a beauty up close. Under her long eyelashes, a pair of bright black eyes seemed to contain spirit. It was as if she was sleeping and could wake up at any time. In his perception, she had long stopped breathing and heartbeat. She was like a real statue. He gently reached out and touched her gauze. Just as he touched her, it was as if he had encountered an illusion. The woman's gauze scattered like ashes. Her face also began to disintegrate, and her delicate body disappeared. A gust of wind suddenly blew. As the wind blew, all the beautiful women with different expressions disappeared. The flowers and plants were still there, and they bloomed even more brightly. However, the people who had been standing here before were all gone. Zichen's heart skipped a beat. These people had been dead for countless years. This place was like a sealed place. With his appearance, the seal was triggered, and the dead people were completely turned into ashes. The flowers and plants were still there. They swayed slowly as the breeze blew. They absorbed the spiritual light and grew. Zichen looked at the flowers and plants. Countless years had passed. Why had these flowers and plants not become spiritual herbs? Even if they were to be counted by age, they should have become divine plants long ago. Unfortunately, they were not. They were no different from ordinary flowers and plants. They were not helpful for cultivation. Looking ahead, Zichen saw a small path paved with jade stones. Following the path, there was a lake 100 zhang away. The lake water was sparkling with a green light, filled with dense spiritual energy. The surface of the lake was very calm, without a single ripple. Zichen looked towards the center of the lake and vaguely saw a shadow gliding across the bottom of the lake. Is there life in the lake? Zichen's expression changed. How powerful was a creature that had existed for countless years? His soul remembrance spread out, but he didn't find anything. It seemed to be a flash of a reflection. The lake water was clear and radiated light. It was rich in spiritual energy and looked like real spiritual water. Zichen was about to walk along the path when suddenly a light flashed from the bottom of the lake. It was as if a pair of eyes from the bottom of the lake had opened and looked at him. Zichen's hair instantly stood on end. His body retreated several feet in the air, and the thunder escape technique was displayed to the extreme. First, there were the lifelike corpses. Then there were the strange flowers and plants that couldn't be transformed, and there was also the abnormality at the bottom of the lake. Everything here was strange. Zichen used the divine rune and looked around, but he didn't find anything strange. Just as he was about to take a detour, the lake water suddenly surged. It was as if there was a powerful force gushing out from the lake. In an instant, the lake water soared into the sky, forming a huge wave that drowned Zichen. Zichen held the black stone tightly and quickly retreated, wanting to avoid it. "Come here!" An illusory voice suddenly rang out. It was like the ethereal voice of a ghost. This voice came from the bottom of the lake. Could it be that those people died silently because there was some kind of ominous thing at the bottom of the lake? Zi Chen retreated even faster. Only this could explain why so many people died in an instant when the divine rune wasn't activated. It was the thing in the lake that killed them. Now, Zi Chen planned to retreat. This place was too strange. He came here to take refuge and look for opportunities. He couldn't lose his life here. If worst came to worst, he could lure Jeffrey in and let him clear the way here. Zi Chen didn't know that Jeffrey had obtained Pieser's golden bell. Otherwise, he wouldn't have retreated. With the golden bell, Jeffrey countered him in all aspects. If the two sides met again, Zi Chen would die. The black stone in Zi Chen's hand didn't react. Instead, the divine rune that he had refined before started to tremble. A strange force spread out, affecting the speed of Zi Chen's retreat. The next moment, the huge wave spread forward, enveloping Zi Chen. When he came to his senses, Zi Chen was already in the middle of the lake. His body was sinking uncontrollably. It was as if someone was dragging his feet and dragging him to the bottom of the lake. Zi Chen's face was full of fear. He kept struggling, but there was no reaction. His strength seemed to have been forcefully sealed. The divine rune floated above his head, creating ripples that isolated the lake water. Since the black stone didn't react, the divine rune's abnormality was his greatest comfort. He tried to swim up, but there was no reaction. Instead, he sank even faster. "Come here!" The voice sounded again right below him. Zi Chen nodded and looked down. It was pitch black and he couldn't see anything. Suddenly, he saw a cold light in front of him. A person was rapidly approaching him. Zi Chen's expression changed. He mobilized his body's strength. Buzz! The divine rune surged, creating ripples in the lake. The approaching figure brushed past him. Their eyes met. Zi Chen saw a beautiful face. This was also a corpse similar to the one he saw before. It was just that the surging lake water had brought her here. She wasn't a living being, but it was still scary enough. Then a few more corpses passed by him, drifting away with the ripples. Zi Chen gradually calmed down. The summoning voice also disappeared. It was like a hallucination. The divine rune was still glowing, separating the lake water. His body was still falling. After falling for a long time, Zi Chen suddenly saw light. He saw a glowing divine rune array at the center of the lake. It seemed to be suppressing something, and in the center of the divine rune array, there was an even smaller array. At this moment, there was a pair of bright objects on the array. It was a pair of eyes. The bright eyes didn't have any emotions. They even had an aura of seeing through the mortal world. The moment Zi Chen saw those eyes, he felt that all the secrets in his heart had been seen through. What kind of eyes were those? Celestial eyes? A sense of extreme danger welled up in his heart. Zi Chen wanted to avoid it, but his body was out of his control. Chapter 49:16. The divine rune diagram released an intense light that illuminated the entire bottom of the lake. The pair of celestial eyes seemed to have come alive, becoming even more bizarre. Zi Chen's hair stood on end. He felt as though he had been pierced through with a single glance. He wanted to circulate his energy, but he didn't succeed. He couldn't control his body at all, and his energy seemed to have been sealed. Occasionally, corpses would pass by him. They were all beautiful, white-robed women, like fairies flying in the water. Their eyes were wide open, as though they were alive and could attack at any moment. Buzz! A powerful aura surged from the bottom of the lake, giving Zi Chen a strong sense of danger. No matter how much he struggled, Zi Chen couldn't react. He landed on the divine rune diagram. Other than the boundless killing intent, he didn't feel anything else. The bottom of the lake was very large, and the divine rune diagram covered the entire bottom of the lake. Zi Chen was currently at a corner. The divine rune diagram had been fully activated. Under the lake's reflection, it was like a bright sword chi, but there was no real danger. Zi Chen didn't panic. Instead, he observed the diagram. Back then, he had obtained the Tao fruit and the inheritance of the Tao of divine runes. When Zichen saw the divine rune diagram, clearly his expression changed. This is the divine spiritualization rune. This was an ancient divine rune that was very difficult to grasp. It was a peak existence, and its true purpose was to suppress and refine. Zichen looked at the huge divine rune diagram. It appeared here, obviously suppressing some terrifying, undying thing. While suppressing it, it would also refine it. It would take a long time for it to be destroyed. This divine rune was sacred, and its aura was calm. It didn't feel ferocious. Zichen walked on the divine rune diagram. The divine rune flickered, but there were no abnormal fluctuations. Zichen felt strands of sacred aura above the divine rune diagram, gathering at the core of the divine rune diagram. And that ferocious feeling came from the bottom of the divine rune, from the bottom of the lake. It is indeed the divine spiritualization rune, but it is so huge. It definitely wasn't condensed by a single person. Zichen walked forward in the formation patterns and examined the ancient and exquisite patterns. With his current level of attainment, he couldn't even carve out a simple corner of them. The divine art spirit rune seals everything. Once one gets close to it, one's strength will be suppressed. It's normal that I can't sense anything now. Zichen was no longer flustered. He calmly dealt with everything, deliberately avoiding that pair of strange eyes. The divine art spiritualization rune wouldn't have such a thing. Clearly, on the basis of this rune, there was a second rune that was similar to the spirit gathering rune. Zichen had a few guesses in his heart. Dong! The ground suddenly trembled, and the glowing divine art spirit inscriptions vanished. A ray of white light surged out from below, passing through the divine art spirit inscriptions and heading upwards. A strong sense of impending death filled Zichen's heart. Zichen's expression instantly changed. Whoa! The black stone in his hand shook slightly, and the spiritual light that was about to approach his body disappeared. Ripples appeared in the lake, layer by layer. Zichen saw the light rush out of the lake and disappear. Could it be that ray of light? Zichen was shocked. He stared at the divine art spirit inscriptions, but the divine art spirit inscriptions had returned to normal. Previously, when the light appeared, he clearly felt that there was a flaw in the divine art spirit inscriptions. Now the flaw had been fixed. Luckily, Zichen glanced at the black stone and secretly rejoiced. That ray of light might be the main reason for the mysterious death of the female corpse here. Luckily, the black stone had helped him resolve the crisis. That ray of light was too terrifying. This time, the black stone had blocked it for him. If the black stone couldn't block it the next time it appeared, he might lose his life here. He hurriedly glanced at the divine art spirit inscriptions and gave up on the idea of comprehending the divine art here. He went to the core. This was the point where all the spiritual energy gathered. It was also the point where the power was at the core. At this point, there was a small but even more complicated and precise divine art spirit inscriptions. That pair of strange eyes was floating at this point. Taking a closer look, it wasn't a real pair of eyes, but a manifestation of spiritual energy. When Zichen took a closer look at that pair of eyes, his vision suddenly blurred. It was as if he saw a bottomless abyss when the black stone vibrated again, and Zichen's blurred eyes returned to normal. I've actually been trapped. Could this be? Zichen was shocked. He didn't dare to look at that pair of eyes again. Instead, he looked at the divine art spirit inscriptions below them. All the energy that was broken down by the divine art spirit inscriptions was refined by the divine art spirit inscriptions a second time, and then reformed into that pair of eyes. Could this be the immortal eyes recorded in the divine art spirit inscriptions, immortal spiritual eyes? In the inheritance that Zichen had obtained, the divine art spirit inscriptions had a mystical immortal eye apart from the divine clock and Tao sword. It was just like those eye techniques in the saint spirit domain. but of a much higher level, and could see through the divine art spirit inscriptions. If the divine art spirit domain belonged to the immortal spell domain, then the immortal spiritual eyes naturally belonged to the immortal spell domain. This eye technique wasn't innate. It could only be born through various coincidences and opportunities. Looking at this pair of immortal eyes, Zi-chan guessed that it was the immortal spiritual eyes. And to be able to form the immortal spiritual eyes, he believed that the ferocious creature suppressed at the bottom of the lake was definitely an extraordinary existence. Zi-chan even suspected that in this place that was completely enveloped by the divine art spirit inscriptions, these women who had died countless years ago were all there to protect this divine art spirit inscriptions, as well as the immortal spiritual eyes. He walked forward, not daring to look at the immortal eyes, for fear that he would lose himself again. There were no other divine inscriptions guarding the surroundings, so Zi-chan walked closer. That's most likely the case. He still didn't dare to be certain, but it was worth a gamble. He reached out his hand and touched the immortal eyes. Whoa! The immortal eyes trembled, and as if they were being guided, they turned into a ray of light and disappeared from Zi-chen's palm. Zi-chen cried out in shock. Something rushed into his eyes, as if he had been attacked inexplicably. Immediately, tears of blood flowed out. Whoa! The divine imprint that the old man had left for Zi-chen began to tremble violently. Strands of divine inscription power appeared from within, slowly entering Zi-chen's eyes. This divine inscription power turned into a cooling sensation, alleviating the piercing pain in Zi-chen's eyes. Strands of divine imprint that the old man had spent his entire life condensing completely turned into energy and disappeared. Divine imprints were supreme treasures that every divine inscriptionist had to condense. As the master of the divine inscriptions, the grade of the divine imprint that the old man had condensed could be imagined. Right now, it had disappeared, turning into pure divine inscription power and entering Zi-chen's eyes. The piercing pain gradually disappeared, and 2 streaks of blood flowed down Zi-chen's cheeks. Chapter 49:17. In front of Zi-chen's eyes, a clear diagram of the divine veins appeared. He could see every detail of the diagram clearly. He could see every part of the divine veins at the bottom of the lake, every pattern and every change in energy. It was as if he could see through the surface and see the essence of the divine veins. He was ecstatic. Even if this was not the celestial spiritual eye, it was still an incredible eye technique. The divine seal that the old man gave him disappeared, and its power merged into his eyes. It was as if it had become one with his body. This was a good thing. He did not need to activate the divine seal anymore. At this moment, Zi-chan noticed that a few of the patterns had dimmed. There were some problems with the connection. The terrifying light from before came from these places. Zi-chan walked closer. He wanted to take a look at the patterns before leaving. Suddenly, his gaze pierced through the diagram of the divine veins and saw the bottom of the lake. It was the real bottom of the lake. There was no light in the surroundings. It was dark, and in the endless darkness, there was a faint light. When Zi-chan looked carefully, his expression changed. The light came from a skeleton. It was the skeleton of an extremely huge beast. As if it sensed Zi-chen's prying, the beast skeleton suddenly released a murderous aura. It broke through the divine veins and rushed toward Zi-chen. The bone-chilling cold made Zi-chen shiver. It was as if there was a sharp edge on his body. This was the monster sealed at the bottom of the lake? The monster that caused the deaths of everyone here? Zi-chan retreated, trying to avoid the murderous aura. However, the murderous aura closed in on him. It was as if it was real. Whoosh! At this moment, a spiritual light suddenly appeared and blocked all the murderous aura. It was the spirit of slaughter that was born from the lightning controlling art. It destroyed and absorbed all the murderous aura. Zi-chen was shocked. He did not expect the spirit of slaughter to have such an effect. He looked down and saw that the skeleton was no longer releasing any murderous aura. The spirit of slaughter floated in front of him. Its light was brighter than before. It seemed to have grown a little. Break the formation and get all the murderous aura out. Zichen seemed to have seen the growth path of the spirit of slaughter. However, just as this thought appeared, Zichen dispelled it. He would never forget that mysterious light from before. If he was unlucky, he might have died silently. It was best not to take such a risk. However, he was somewhat unwilling to leave just like that. Suddenly, his eyes lit up as he had an idea. I can place the spirit of massacre in the immortal spirit well. That way it can absorb the spiritual energy inside. Zichen's soul, remembrance, moved and the slaughter spirit flew forward, slowly landing at the core of the divine glyph. Zichen watched nervously, worried that the slaughter spirit would not be able to absorb it. After all, it was no longer pure killing intent. Wang, who would have thought that just as he placed it, the spirit of massacre would tremble slightly, transmitting a joyful emotion, and begin to actively devour the spiritual energy. It was like a sponge meeting water, absorbing it crazily. Because the absorption speed was too fast, the divine rune diagram was automatically activated and quickly refined the beast bone. It's working. Zichen's eyes lit up even more. He saw that the beast bone's luster was dimming due to the refinement of the divine rune diagram. Zichen guessed that many years ago, this should have been a living, mutated beast. With the suppression of the divine rune diagram and countless years of refinement, its life had been obliterated. Its flesh and blood had dried up and disappeared, leaving behind only this set of bones. At that time, the beast bone should have released a strong light, but with the passage of time, the power of the beast bone had also dissipated. Finally, it became what Zichen saw in front of him. He believed that in the end, all the bones would disappear. To be suppressed here, the beast bone must have had an extraordinary background when it was alive. Even after death, it still had its dignity. A weak existence like the slaughter spirit forcibly devoured its spiritual energy, arousing its instinctive resistance. Wang. The bones trembled and boundless killing intent appeared through the divine rune, transforming into a ferocious, mutated beast. It had no consciousness and was incomparably cruel. It was just the manifestation of pure killing intent. Shua. At this moment, the slaughter spirit voluntarily left the core of the divine rune and flew towards the mutated beast, piercing its head in an instant. In an instant, the killing intent dissipated. Zichen felt his body become colder and colder. However, this killing intent could not affect the slaughter spirit and was instantly devoured. When the last strand of killing intent was devoured, the slaughter spirit flew back to the core of the divine rune diagram. It did not need Zichen's control and continued to devour the beast bone. The divine rune diagram sped up and forcibly refined the beast bone. An angry roar came from the beast bone, as if it saw this as a provocation. The killing intent appeared again. Shua. The slaughter spirit did not need to be called and came by itself. Instant kill, devour, return. The actions were done in one breath. The light in Zichen's eyes dimmed. He was extremely shocked. This slaughter spirit seemed to be born to suppress killing intent. He felt that the terrifying killing intent could be easily dealt with by it. At this moment, the two sides were like two mutated beasts, one big and one small, facing each other. However, the big one was locked in a cage, while the small one was outside shouting, provoking, and occasionally attacking. As expected, as the slaughter spirit devoured, the third strand of killing intent appeared. Zichen was still frightened, but he was easily killed and devoured by the slaughter spirit. If this continued, it would not take long for the skeleton to be completely refined. Just as the fourth manifestation of the killing intent also failed, a bright light suddenly appeared within the bones and instantly rippled out. Buzz! The black stone in Zi Chen's hand trembled and blocked the light for him. However, the slaughter spirit in front of him did not react at all. Seems like it only works on living things. Zi Chen was relieved. He planned to go up and see what was going on. After all, there were many people here. Zi Chen went up. This time he was not blocked. During this time, Zi Chen also saw the women swimming because of the ripples in the lake. They were indeed dead. There were no signs of life. Zi Chen poked his head out of the lake and looked around. No one had come yet. Jeffrey is a Heaven's Choice Realm cultivator. How about luring him to the bottom of the lake? Zi Chen stood outside the lake, and a thought suddenly appeared in his mind. Jeffrey and the skeleton were fighting. When both sides were injured, he would take advantage of the situation. However, after thinking about it, he gave up. The slaughter spirit could devour them. It was better not to complicate matters. After all, Jeffrey was a Heaven's Choice Realm cultivator. There was a huge gap between them. Even so, Zi Chen still planned to go outside and see the situation. After all, this place was not too hidden. Walking into the divine pattern diagram, Zi Chen's eyes flashed. All the divine patterns were clearly visible. When he went out, it was much easier than when he came in. Moreover, his vision was already able to see the outside world through the divine patterns. He did not need to go out completely. Dong! Suddenly a bell rang. Waves of divine patterns spread out, and a large number of divine patterns disappeared. Chapter 49:18. There were a total of 5 people with the golden bell, and only one of them was coming over. The other party held the golden bell and destroyed everything along the way, rummaging through the places where the divine runes appeared. If this continued, they would soon reach this place. Zi Chen was a little hesitant. He wasn't sure if he should retreat in this situation. If he went back to the bottom of the lake, would the other party discover him? At this moment, a powerful wave suddenly came from the side. As the wave passed, everything around it was destroyed. The restrictions in front of Zi Chen all disappeared. The existence with the golden bell was stunned. Zi Chen was also stunned. The two of them looked at each other. They were only a few 100 feet apart. It seems that my luck is good. A young man flew over from the side and looked at Zi Chen. I'm curious. What good thing did you get? Take it out and let me see. The other party had the largest golden bell, and it was also the most powerful one. Swish! Zi Chen turned and ran. Obviously, he wouldn't take out the Dao sword, and he wouldn't fight with the other party here. You want to leave? The young man sneered and chased after him. The high realm with the small golden bell hesitated for a moment and followed. Zi Chen ran into the depths. When he passed by the lake, he didn't look in that direction. The two existences who followed him didn't pay attention to the lake and chased after him. Not long after the two left, another group of people arrived. The leader was a high realm cultivator. "My lord, are they all inside?" One of the cultivators in the middle level of the trial asked. Previously, he had been hiding nearby and had seen Zi Chen. "Let's go in and take a look. Maybe there are other treasures to pick up." The high realm cultivator flew into the depths. He passed by the lake but didn't check it out. Without the corpses, the lake looked very ordinary. Then, wave after wave of existences came in and flew into the depths. They all took the initiative to pass by the lake and enter the depths. Humph! With a cold snort, Jeffrey's figure appeared. He was alone. "Zi Chen, I'll kill you this time." As the only Heaven's Choice Realm cultivator, and with the golden bell, he was invincible here. He walked in and glanced at the lake, but didn't pay any attention to it. It's over, it's over. Even Jeffrey went in. It's all over now. Isn't he worried about Lord Black Dragon? Alva appeared outside the restriction with a worried expression. Helen looked into the distance and said, "Wait for me outside. I'll go in and take a look." Jeffrey was already powerful, and with the golden bell, he could be said to be invincible. If he wanted to kill, everyone would die. So Helen walked in alone. What should we do? Alva looked at the others. Everyone obviously knew what Helen meant. She wanted them to stay because she wanted them to live. You guys stay here. The two of us will go in. The Chien brothers suddenly spoke up. The last time we were beaten half to death, it was Zi Chen who stood up for us. Even if we're going to die now, at least we need a witness. We can report to Lord Black Dragon afterwards. What do you mean by that? Am I, Alva, coward? Alva followed. Even if you want a witness, I should be one. Even if I'm going to be beaten to death, I won't be alone on the road to hell. Luo Shao sneered. He looked at the bearded man next to him. Hey, are we being despised? It's not me, it's you. The bearded man smiled and walked forward. For so many years, our team has been back and forth, but I haven't seen many who are loyal. So, at this time, we can't not be loyal. Luo Shao followed, and the few of them ran into the depths together. They might not be of much help, but they could at least send themselves to death, right? And they might not die because, with someone else as a witness, Jeffrey might not dare to kill them. Zi Chen, who was running into the depths, used his soul power to sense behind him. The sudden appearance of the young man was somewhat unexpected, but it was not a bad thing. The other party chased after him and did not pay attention to the lake, which made Zi Chen feel relieved. He released his soul power and sensed that the others had also passed through the lake. It would not be too late for him to come back and collect it after the slaughter spirit absorbed all the killing intent. Now that he was going deeper, he might find something else. Zi Chen, who was moving forward, gradually found that something was wrong. In front of his vision, there were divine runes everywhere. Zi Chen suddenly stopped, his expression uncertain. In front of him was a small path with vegetation growing on both sides, but with the celestial spiritual eye, he saw divine runes everywhere. These divine runes looked more complicated than the ones at the bottom of the lake, overlapping and forming a chain of slaughtered divine runes. Kid, let me see what kind of treasure you have. The young man's voice came from behind. When Zi Chen stopped, the other party caught up. The golden bell in his hand was especially shining. Zi Chen turned his head and glanced at him. Clang! The bell rang, and layers of runes approached, carrying a killing intent that far surpassed the other golden bells. Zi Chen's Dao sword appeared in his hand, and he slashed forward. Sword chi formed by countless divine runes rushed out, cutting the divine runes. Oh, it's actually such a treasure? The young man's eyes lit up. When he attacked earlier, those who were close to him would be in trouble. The small sword seemed to be of a higher level than his golden bell. You can hold back, taking it out only now. Zi Chen said, Why fight with me here? There should be many good things in here. The young man raised the golden bell and said, It's okay if you don't fight, but give me the sword. Zi Chen said, I can give it to you, but you give me the golden bell. Take it as a trade. I also have something to protect myself. The young man's eyes flashed coldly. Bargaining with me, do you want to die? As his voice fell, the golden bell in his hand shook again, and an even more terrifying divine rune aura surged out. Feeling the other party's killing intent, Zi Chen could only continue to use his Dao sword. Only such a treasure could block it. Otherwise, his body would probably be disintegrated by the divine runes, his flesh and bones separated. After destroying the divine runes again, Zi Chen looked at the light coming from afar. If he waited any longer, there would be more people with bad intentions. He could only turn around and thrust out his sword. His eyes flashed. This sword stabbed at the weakest part of the divine runes, but it did not completely destroy them. It only temporarily suppressed them. At this moment, a ball of light suddenly flew over like lightning, hitting Zi Chen's back. Puff! Zi Chen coughed up blood, and his body flew forward. In front of everyone's eyes, Zi Chen fell on the stone steps, and then quickly ran into the depths. The young man stood there, looking at Zi Chen running away, frowning slightly. Someone quickly went forward, following Zichin. However, just as they approached the stone steps, rays of light lit up one after another. Chapter 49:19. Chi. Chi. The divine glyph diagram rotated, and boundless killing intent surged. The existence that wanted to take advantage of the situation was immediately drowned by the attack. Treasure light flowed on the opponent's body, resisting the divine glyph diagram. The young man stood behind and watched. A hint of disdain flashed in his eyes. He clearly had the ability to disperse the divine glyph with a wave of his hand, but he did not move. Instead, he stood there and watched the show. Another existence with a golden bell approached. His gaze swept past the trap trial realm and looked at the tree-lined path above. He had no intention of helping. The young man glanced back at him. "You want to go in?" The other's eyes flashed, but he did not speak. More people came from behind, but after seeing the two of them, they all stopped. "Look in front." Suddenly, a cry of surprise sounded. The young man looked forward and found that at the end of the tree-lined path, a golden light had appeared. It was like a golden bean. This was naturally something good. He moved forward without hesitation. Dong! The bell rang, and the golden ripples spread forward. In an instant, countless divine glyph diagrams appeared on the tree-lined path, layer by layer, extending forward. Everything that Zichin could see with his celestial spiritual eye was now completely displayed. 1. A portion of the divine glyph disappeared. The existence that was trying to resist the divine glyph diagram was rescued, but his flesh and blood disappeared in an instant. The young man glanced at the skeleton and said coldly, "Zichin's things are mine. Don't do it again." With that, the young man moved forward. Above his head, the golden bell floated and vibrated continuously, letting out a clanging sound. The divine glyph that Zichin had avoided earlier appeared one by one and was then forcibly dissolved. The skeleton stood up again. Light flowed on its body and new flesh grew. The people behind looked at the young man with the golden bell and were somewhat envious. With such a treasure on him, where in the world could he not go? Perhaps he could find many good things just by waving it around. Unfortunately, the golden bell had already recognized an owner. If they wanted to get it, they would have to defeat the young man. It seemed that the difficulty was not small. Everyone followed behind the young man and walked toward the tree-lined path. The divine glyph here had been dissolved, and there was no more danger. After walking through the tree-lined path, a huge square appeared in his field of vision. Above this square, there were floating specks of golden light, like golden beans, scattered in different places. At this moment, Zichin was approaching a spot of golden light. "Stop, that's mine!" The young man standing at the edge of the square shouted. "Are you an idiot? Isn't that enough for you?" Zichin turned around and glanced at him, his expression full of disdain. "You're courting death." Being looked down upon like this, the young man was furious. The golden bell in his hand shook again, and layers of ripples surged out. However, this time, the power of the golden bell was not displayed. Instead, a burst of energy suddenly fell on the golden bell from above. Shwa! The golden bell broke away from the young man's control and flew into the sky. The expression of the young man, who was incomparably arrogant, immediately changed. Without the golden bell, he who had no understanding of the Tao of divine inscriptions would find it difficult to move an inch in this place. He raised his head and looked at the golden bell. There was some light around the golden bell, like a spider web, surrounding the golden bell layer by layer. "What's going on?" The young man's expression was very ugly. Then he stared at Zichin. "It's your doing, isn't it?" Zichin could not be bothered with the young man. At this moment, he was almost at the location of the second golden light. Zichin did not know what the golden light was, but it was definitely something good. It was best to get it first. "Haha, you're in trouble too." The young man suddenly laughed because above Zichin's head, The path sword from before was also trapped there. Laugh all you want. Let's see if you can still laugh when the others come. Zichen glanced at the young man sarcastically and took the second golden light. This place was full of divine inscriptions and was very terrifying. It was not easy to get the golden light. As for the divine inscriptions above his head, they were not strong. They were just a type of sealing divine inscriptions that could not be broken by force. When the time was up, they would disappear. Previously, when Zichen arrived, he saw many golden lights and was worried that he would not have a chance when the others came. Therefore, he did not hesitate to use the path sword, intending to quickly break the seal and collect some before going deeper. It was fine even if it was temporarily suppressed. Unexpectedly, in his carelessness, he triggered the sealing divine inscriptions, causing the path sword to be uncontrollably suppressed. Previously, he had deliberately angered the young man to lure him to use the golden bell. This way, he would have to consider the sealed golden bell and could only wander around here, not attacking him. Then a few more people came. Those who had the golden bell almost reflexively used the golden bell and were sealed one by one. They could not be as calm as Zichen and still have the mood to collect the golden light. Instead, they tried to find a way to get the golden bell back. Such a precious treasure must not be lost. Of course, Zichen would not remind them that the more they tried, the longer it would take to seal them. As for the others, some went for the golden light, while others wandered around the sealed golden bell. They all knew that it was something good. Perhaps they would have a chance to get it this time. However, this place was full of divine inscriptions, so it was not convenient to move. Sometimes powerful attacks would appear. Jeffrey came relatively late. He saw the sealed weapons in the air at a glance, so he immediately put away his golden bell. Then he saw Zichen, and his eyes surged with killing intent. Die. He struck out a palm across the air, and a powerful palm print went straight for Zichen, mighty and mighty. Chi, chi, chi. The surrounding divine inscriptions were immediately triggered, and powerful attacks appeared, disintegrating the divine inscriptions in an instant. Even the other divine inscriptions in the surroundings had some chain reactions. Some people were affected and cried out in alarm. Zichen turned and saw Jeffrey. His eyes turned cold. Jeffrey, what is the meaning of this? Little bastard, I will kill you. Jeffrey's eyes were full of murderous intent. You deserve it. Zichen did not back down. Didn't you want to watch a show? Didn't you pretend you didn't hear my warning? Now that your brother is dead, you still want to watch a show. You are courting death. Jeffrey struck again across the air. Powerful energy surged, but it still did not reach Zichen. Those in the trial realm who were affected were angry, but they did not dare to say anything. This golden light seems to be able to increase the power of the physical body. Someone exclaimed. Someone had obtained a ray of golden light and was trying to refine it. This exclamation attracted everyone's attention, including Jeffrey. When he saw the golden light, his expression could not help but change. This is the power of the golden body. He stared at the golden light, somewhat in disbelief. What is the power of the golden light? The young man under the golden bell asked. The power condensed by the immortal golden body is a powerful body-refining technique from the immortal spell world. Chapter 49:20. Jeffrey's voice was not soft, but no one gave him power. He had just arrived here and had not gained anything yet. Regardless of whether the power of the golden body was strong or weak, these golden lights were obtained through hard work. How could they give them away so easily? Seeing that no one cooperated with him, Jeffrey was angry. Yes, I just refined it. It can indeed increase my power, said a high-level cultivator of the trial. Jeffrey was furious and looked at him. I'll kill you first. The other party looked at Jeffrey with astonishment and bewilderment in his eyes. He had only cooperated with Jeffrey, and he had actually brought about a fatal disaster. The young man on the side said, So if you get the power here, you can have the immortal golden body you mentioned? Jeffrey did not want to speak at this moment because no one knew what was good for them. However, the young man's identity was a little different. He snorted and said, "How can it be that simple? The immortal golden body is powerful because of the technique. This is just the power of the immortal golden body." Jeffrey paused and continued, "Although I can't cultivate the immortal golden body, the power here can make my physical body stronger. The more the better. Maybe it can be comparable to the immortal golden body in the end." As soon as he said this, everyone's eyes lit up. There were many golden light spots here, although they were only the size of rice grains. As long as there were more of them, the physical body would naturally become stronger. Zichen also heard this and tried to refine a ray of golden light. The golden light turned into pure power and entered his body. It began to strengthen his physical body on its own. Zichen's physical body was not weak, but now he had completely absorbed this golden power. It was clear that compared to the power of the golden body, his physical strength was still somewhat lacking. He looked forward. This place was full of golden light, but divine patterns were everywhere. It was not easy to get them. What's the situation now? After Jeffrey finished talking about the immortal golden body, he looked at the young man and asked, "There's something strange about this place. It can take away the golden bells, and the original divine ability to break patterns will be suppressed," said the young man. Jeffrey looked up at the young man's head. The huge golden bell was rippling there. Layers of energy entangled like a spider web, sealing all power. Greed flashed in his eyes, and his gaze swept to other places. The other 3 golden bells were also there. Finally, his gaze landed on Zichen. He saw the Taoist sword, which should be the supreme treasure that Pieser had mentioned before. There's something strange about that sword. It can also ignore divine inscriptions. Even my unique golden bell is unable to suppress it. The young man said again. He had noticed the greed in Jeffrey's eyes. Now he could only direct the fire to Zichen. The young man's golden bell was very strange. It could be considered the strongest of the 5 great golden bells. It could instantly separate a person's flesh and bone. Since that sword could suppress it, it was clearly a good item. Jeffrey's eyes were attracted, and this time he was no longer suppressing his greed. He walked forward. Without Jin Zhong being trapped, there was no restriction. Zichen's expression changed slightly. That guy was walking toward him. "Brat, if you want to live, then leave your sword behind and scram." Jeffrey, who was walking forward, had a playful look in his eyes. "I'm warning you, don't provoke me." Zichen replied. Jeffrey's expression immediately turned cold. He thought of Jeffrey Ong, who had been killed not long ago. Zichen's words had undoubtedly provoked him. "I've changed my mind." "You must die. I'm going to detain your soul and watch as I grind your body into ashes with your own eyes. Then I'll turn your soul into a sky lantern and slowly extinguish it." Jeffrey's words were filled with killing intent. "Come, I'll wait for you." Zichen faced him coldly without fear. "Your brother hasn't gone far. He's waiting for you 2 brothers to reunite. You're courting death." Jeffrey flew into a rage. A terrifying aura surged out from his body. His entire body was like a sharp sword as he charged toward Zichen. Buzz! The divine inscriptions in the surroundings were activated, and a powerful aura surged. Layer after layer of divine inscriptions appeared. The light that Jeffrey had transformed into broke through 2 divine inscriptions in succession, but he was trapped by the 3rd one. Without the invincible golden bell, this place was full of danger. How could it be so easy to pass through? Jeffrey, who was trapped in the divine inscription array, looked at Zichen from afar. "Just you wait. I'll definitely kill you. Come if you can. If not, scram." Zichen looked up at the sky. The divine inscriptions there were loosening. A cobweb-like power spread out, and the path sword fell from the sky. Time was up. Zichen put away the path sword and turned to walk deeper into the divine inscription array. His body twisted and turned, sometimes forward and sometimes backward. He was getting farther and farther away from everyone, but closer and closer to the golden light. Buzz! Once again, Zichen obtained a ray of golden light. He directly refined it. Now he could only fight to the death with Jeffrey. Therefore, every bit of strength he gained was a guarantee for him. Under everyone's gaze, Zichen walked and stopped. He even went back and forth. Actually, this was an illusion. His footsteps never stopped, and he kept moving forward. Along the way, he would casually take away and refine the golden light he encountered. If it was just a little further, he would give up. In Zichen's vision, the golden light spots ahead were denser, and there were more of them. Therefore, there was no need to waste too much time on those in the periphery. Zichen guessed that the power of the immortal golden body didn't appear for no reason. Perhaps there was an unexpected harvest inside. After moving forward at full speed, Zichen widened the distance between him and the others. During this time, Jeffrey roared and used the strength of a Heaven's Choice realm to break through the divine inscription array. However, he only sank deeper and deeper. Finally, Zichen reached the edge of the square. With the immortal spiritual eye, he walked much faster than the others. In front of the square was a large hall. The door was open, and a skeleton sat cross-legged in front of the door. The skeleton flickered with golden light. At this moment, there was a constant stream of air surging out of the hall with great power. Wherever it passed, it would take away some golden light spots from the skeleton and fly outside. That's the immortal golden body. Zichen looked at the golden skeleton with a hint of surprise in his eyes. His eyes flashed as he walked forward quickly. There were very few divine inscriptions here, but according to Zichen's investigation, it wasn't that they didn't exist. They had been removed many years ago. He walked to the front of the golden skeleton and suddenly felt a bone-piercing chill. It was as if someone was using a weapon to cut his body. The chill came from the open door. It was just a gust of wind, but it was so powerful. What was inside? Zichen was extremely shocked. Even standing behind the skeleton, he felt an unbearable stab of pain. Whoosh! Whoosh! There were some small cuts on his robe. His skin seemed to have been cut by a sharp blade, and traces of blood flowed out. It was obviously impossible to move forward and enter the hall. Fortunately, Zichen didn't have such thoughts, because there was a small pool of golden liquid beside the skeleton. This was the purest power of the immortal golden body, the part that was truly immortal. Just by sensing it, he found that this power was much purer than the one floating outside. Because the hurricane blew past, it took away the remaining power, leaving behind pure drops. Chapter 49:21. Beams of golden light flowed. Zichen was refining this pure power. His body was becoming stronger. This was a rare opportunity that could only be found by chance. Its quality was much higher than the golden granules outside. The golden light enveloped his body, bringing with it a mysterious and hazy feeling. In the square, Jeffrey forcibly broke through the divine patterns and rushed to a golden granule. He took a beam of golden light and immediately refined it. The golden light merged into his body. He felt the changes in his body, and his eyes lit up immediately. It was indeed the power of the immortal golden body, and its grade was not low. What are you all doing here? Since there is immortal power here, there must be more in the depths. Maybe there are more. Everyone, let's work together and kill our way in. Jeffrey looked at the others around him. However, everyone was carefully breaking through the divine patterns and had no time to pay attention to Jeffrey. Jeffrey's face was gloomy. There must be more golden bodies in the depths. Why are we wasting time here? Still, no one responded. They were not stupid. If they all went in together, the good things they found might not be theirs. Jeffrey was furious. He glanced at the depths and then at the golden bodies beside him. He gritted his teeth and did not go in further. Zi-Chen was quickly refining the power and did not expect the people outside to stop outside the square. Helen also came. She saw that everyone had stopped in the square, looking at the shining golden body power and the occasional discussion. She guessed what had happened. Alvar and the others followed closely behind. After they appeared, although they all coveted the golden bodies, they did not fight for them. Because Zi-Chen had already entered the depths, the others did not follow because there was such power here. If all of it was taken away, these people would certainly go in to cause trouble for Zi-Chen. The few of them stood outside the square like guards, watching everyone obtain the power of the golden body. Along the way, some people exclaimed. Naturally, they had gained something. Looking at the golden light flowing around those people, Alvar was a little envious. He saw a familiar person and asked him how he felt. The immortal golden body is, of course, good stuff. It can infinitely strengthen the body. The other person glanced at Alvar and said, "Why are you standing there? I'll keep an eye out for you guys." Alva smiled awkwardly. "They're afraid that you'll gather all the power here and go deeper to kill Zi-Chen." The young man glanced at Alva and the others. "Childish. This is the only way out. Zi-Chen will never return. Just as well we will snatch all of his gains in the end and then kill him. Master Black Dragon is protecting Zi-Chen. Do you dare to kill him?" Alva shouted. The young man said disdainfully, "Black Dragon? Is he even qualified to control me? Outside Peace City, I am the rule. I can kill whoever I want. Even if you don't kill him, I will kill that brat." Jeffrey said coldly, "Jeffrey, Lord Black Dragon has already told you what to do. You've already taken the golden bell. What else do you want?" Helen looked at Jeffrey. "A mere golden bell is worth my brother's life? Let me tell you, even if he gives me that sword, it won't work. I must take his life." Jeffrey's eyes were full of murderous intent as he took back the second golden light. "Since you don't like that sword, then give it to me. I want the sword and you want his life." "That's great," the young man said immediately. "Young man, greed can kill." He glanced at the young man. "Danger is everywhere when you're outside." The young man said coldly, "Are you threatening me?" "No, I'm not. I'm advising you." The young man snorted and said nothing. He was not afraid of Jeffrey. Jeffrey would not dare to kill him, even if he had the guts. Moreover, there were so many people here. Zi-Chen's body was bathed in golden light. The sound of surging waves came from his body. This was the sound of his blood circulating rapidly. Boundless golden light entered Zi-Chen's body and changed his body. His body, which was already strong to begin with, became even stronger at this moment. If he were to meet Piesar again, Zi-Chen was confident that he could beat him with just his fists. There was still a lot of golden light here. His improvement was fast, but the speed of refining the golden body was not fast. The main reason was that this power was too pure, and there was too much of it. For Zi-Chen, this was a good thing, but he did not have enough time. After hesitating for a while, Zi-Chen decided to investigate the skeleton first. His soul power landed on it. Buzz! In an instant, the skeleton began to tremble and emit a bright golden light. The skeleton that had lost its vitality seemed to be reviving. Dong! The skeleton trembled slightly, and a powerful aura spread out. The terrifying hurricane in front of it was instantly extinguished. This part of the world also trembled. Zi-Chen felt his vitality begin to drain rapidly. His expression changed. Was the skeleton going to use his power to revive? At this moment, Zi-Chen felt the power in the skeleton begin to change. The power seemed to be moving according to a certain trajectory. Zi-Chen was stunned at first. Then a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. This was the cultivation method of the immortal golden body. It was something more precious than the power of the golden body. Previously, Zi-Chen just wanted to give it a try. He did not expect to really gain something. His soul power landed on the skeleton, and he felt that he had become a part of the body. The power in his body began to flow on its own. In an instant, a strong feeling emerged. The skeleton stood upright with a disdainful aura. The power in his body flowed. Ray after ray of golden light formed waves and spread out. Suddenly, a strong murderous intent surged out from the open door of the main hall. It was much stronger than before. The skeleton moved. He took a step forward. The golden power formed a wave, mighty and mighty. The golden light formed a boundless fighting spirit and destroyed the murderous intent. In Zi Chen's perception, the skeleton wanted to throw a punch. This punch must have the power to destroy heaven and earth. Dong! In the main hall, there was a tremor as if a heart was beating. The skeleton seemed to have suffered a heavy blow, and the golden light on the surface dimmed a little. But in the next moment, the skeleton's aura was like a rainbow. Zi Chen's soul attached to the skeleton had a strong impulse to throw a punch at the main hall. In a trance, Zi Chen seemed to see a picture. The door of the hall opened, and a white palm rushed out and hit his body. His body slid back dozens of feet, and then he stood there. Zi Chen woke up with a start. He sensed the skeleton again and found that the skeleton's chest was collapsed and the bones were broken. The existence of the immortal golden body was killed by a palm in the main hall? Zi Chen's face was filled with shock. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from behind. "You idiots! You are snatching the golden grains here. There is a large amount of immortal power in the depths, comparable to a river." Chapter 49:22. Geoffrey's words instantly attracted everyone's attention. Here, divine runes were everywhere. It was not easy to obtain a grain of immortal power. There were actually more in the depths. Geoffrey was furious. He turned around and scolded, "You idiots! All the good things are taken by Zi Chen alone. A full pool of immortal power." He was really angry. After such a long time, who knew how much Zi Chen had refined? "Bastard, put it down, that's mine." Seeing Zi Chen begin to collect the immortal power, Geoffrey became even angrier. He rushed forward quickly and took out the golden bell. Clang! The bell rang, and restriction-breaking divine runes spread out, breaking the nearby divine runes. In the distance, Zi Chen was very surprised that the other party actually had a golden bell. Who did he steal it from? However, Zi Chen was not afraid at all, because there was still a battle intent on the skeleton. There was a remnant that wanted to throw a punch at the main hall. This was the other party's unyielding belief. At this moment, Zi Chen was able to slightly control this belief. "Brat, die." Geoffrey, who was releasing a tyrannical aura, approached with the golden bell. At this moment, Zi Chen's soul power attached to the skeleton tried to control it. The skeleton turned around, but the speed was not fast. Because it did not match the other party's belief, Zi Chen could only barely control it. Moreover, with every move, the other party's belief would weaken by a bit. When he turned around and faced Geoffrey, there was only a last trace of belief left. He threw a punch. Infinite golden light shone, and Geoffrey felt like he was seeing the sun. Then his eyes were filled with infinite golden light, and he was instantly blinded. Shock appeared on his face, and infinite fear appeared. The crisis of death appeared in his heart. Boom! Geoffrey flew out and smashed into the square again. The bell was a little ear-piercing, and the golden bell fell at the edge of the square's entrance. Everyone who was about to move forward stood there in shock. Geoffrey fell to the ground. His chest had collapsed, and blood kept spurting out of his mouth. What's going on? Everyone's expression changed drastically. They looked into the depths again, their eyes filled with shock. A dignified Heaven's Choice Realm cultivator was half dead in an instant. The young man looked at the golden bell behind him, his eyes flashing. After the punch, the remaining faith in the skeleton disappeared. The entire skeleton turned into ashes, and the remaining golden light also disappeared. Zi Chen stood there without moving. He was also frightened. This punch was made up of remnant will, so its power was probably less than 1% of its original power. Furthermore, because Zi-chun had changed directions, his remnant will was constantly being depleted. It was estimated that only 1% of its power was left. However, this punch, which was equivalent to about a 10,000th of the original body strength, actually sent Jeffrey flying in an instant. If it wasn't for the fact that the golden bell had blocked most of the power for him, Zi-chun reckoned that the punch would have instantly destroyed Jeffrey's body. It was only 1/10,000th of his power. What if he was at his peak? At this moment, while Zi-chun was shocked by the power of the fist, his heart was also burning with passion. He immediately withdrew the remaining power of the immortal golden body. Then he turned into a stream of light and flew toward the square in front of him. Even if Jeffrey was not dead, he must be in a severely injured state. Zi-chun had to seize the opportunity to kill him while he was down. When he arrived at the square, there were already people at the edge. When they saw Zi-chun, their eyes immediately lit up. "Good boy, you actually came. Hand over the thing. Get lost." Zi-chun shouted angrily and threw a punch at the person who was blocking his way. His fist flashed with golden light. This was the power of the immortal golden body. He could only use some of it now. Bang! The square trembled as a strong force surged. A golden ripple spread out, and the high level of the trial who was standing in front of Zi-chun was immediately sent flying. Die! However, the person who was sent flying pointed in the air, and a sword light flew toward Zi-chun. Zi-chun swung his fist again and punched the sword light. Clang! The sharp sword light was repelled by Zi-chun's fist. The high level of the trial fell on the square and quickly flipped over. At the same time, he formed a seal with both hands. He took out another weapon and charged toward Zi-chun. Zi-chun was only here to kill Jeffrey. The high level of the trial had stopped him again and again, which made him want to kill him. Buzz! The light trembled, and the doctrine's sword flew out like a bolt of lightning and entered the high level of the trial. Poof! In an instant, the doctrine's sword turned into a stream of light and flew back. The high level of the trial froze. His eyes widened as he looked at Zi-chun in disbelief. His weapon had only flown a few feet before it powerlessly fell to the ground. Alva and the others stood in the distance and watched the scene in shock. A high level of the trial was killed by Zi-chun just like that. When the others saw Zi-chun rush out, they also wanted to take advantage of the situation. However, when they saw the high level of the trial die, they were all stunned and stood in place. Die. When Zi-chun saw Jeffrey, a ray of light flew out from his sea of consciousness and turned into a sword light that shot towards Jeffrey. Whoosh! The spiritual sword light went straight into the sea of consciousness. Jeffrey screamed, and blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. But as expected of a heaven's chosen realm existence, even if he was seriously injured, his soul power was still not weak. After his soul was attacked, the high level of the trial retreated. He knew how terrifying Zi-chun was and decided to avoid him for the time being. At this distance, Zi-chun couldn't use the doctrine sword. It was a pity because the place where Jeffrey was standing was coincidentally filled with divine runes, unlike the high-level cultivator who was standing on a flat path. In a situation where the doctrine sword couldn't be used, Zi-chun could only use the Sword of Soul. Although the Sword of Soul wasn't sealed, the divine runes played a role in counteracting it. Therefore, Zi-chun gritted his teeth and rushed toward Jeffrey. While he was seriously injured, he could take his life. Otherwise, when he recovered, it was hard to say who would live and who would die. Zi-chun jumped among the divine runes and approached Jeffrey in a few flashes. The moment he got close, he punched out. His fist contained a trace of immortal power. Jeffrey didn't dare to take it head-on and could only choose to defend. Although it was frustrating, it was better than losing his life. With a loud bang, Jeffrey coughed up blood again and retreated. Zi-chun immediately chased after him and threw a few more punches. Jeffrey, continuously retreated and coughed up blood. He was about to be beaten out of the square. Zi Chen wanted to continue to chase and kill his opponent. But at this moment, he noticed a young man put away the golden bell and moved closer to him. Whoosh! He disappeared and re-entered the divine runes. After that, he walked through the divine runes and returned to the edge of the square. Ignoring the young man, Zi Chen ran deeper into the square. His goal was the Great Hall. After all, there was something inside that could kill an immortal golden body. Even after countless years, there might still be some remnants. If he really found something, it would be a great gain. Of course, there was another reason why he retreated. He didn't have the confidence to kill Jeffrey. If he just beat him and Jeffrey turned back and accidentally entered the lake, it would be troublesome. Chapter 49:23. The doors to the hall opened and gusts of cold wind blew out, bringing with it a bone-chilling chill. The cold wind was a killing intent. After refining a portion of the immortal power, Zi Chen's physical body had improved significantly. Standing here, he was no longer afraid of the killing intent. Looking at the door of the palace, he could feel the killing intent emanating from it. He took out the ring and activated its power. Step by step, he walked forward. Sure enough, as he got closer, the killing intent became terrifying again. Fortunately, the light on the ring could block a portion of the cold wind for him. Zi Chen walked forward slowly towards the hall. On the square, Jeffrey ran to the edge. After suffering heavy injuries, he was very weak at the moment. He looked like a Heaven's Choice Realm cultivator, but he wasn't stronger than the others. The young man glanced at him, his eyes flickering. If he killed Jeffrey now, he could get the second golden bell. Zi Chen's Dao sword was powerful, but he didn't forget that the golden bell was made up of 5. The power of 5 combined should be extraordinary. Jeffrey was very sullen. He was a Heaven's Choice Realm cultivator, but he was put in such a difficult situation by an initial realm cultivator. Everyone was eyeing him covetously, and his life was in danger. He suppressed the anger in his heart and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. "What, you want to hit me?" he said coldly. "You're really bullied by dogs. Come if you have the ability. I'd like to see if an injured Heaven's Choice Realm cultivator can tear you dogs apart." As he spoke, Jeffrey strode towards the golden bell, but after a few steps, he activated the divine glyph and was trapped inside. Alva and the others recovered from their shock. This Zi Chen was too ferocious. With just a few moves, he had seriously injured Jeffrey. But now, it was indeed a great opportunity to kill Jeffrey. They looked at Boss Helen. Jeffrey was still a Heaven's Choice Realm cultivator. Of course, they needed someone at the boss's level to kill him. Helen was looking at the others. This was indeed a rare opportunity, but it was clearly impossible for her to kill Jeffrey alone. As long as those with the golden bell made a move, she would definitely join in. Unfortunately, no one moved. She could only wait and see. Until Jeffrey broke the divine glyph and successfully took the golden bell, no one made a move. "Haha," Jeffrey laughed heartily. Actually, he hadn't been at ease before. That strange punch had almost taken his life, and Zi Chen's pursuit had also been fatal. He had been putting up a strong front all this time, not daring to show the slightest bit of fear. Otherwise, he would really be killed by their combined efforts. But now that he had the golden bell, he was no longer afraid. Knowing that there was something peculiar about this place, Zhang Xian didn't dare to shake it. Instead, he placed it beside him before sitting down cross-legged to recuperate. When the young man saw this scene, he knew that he had missed the best opportunity to kill the other party. Now that he had walked to the edge and looked at Zi Chen again, he was almost at the door of the hall. Damn it! The young man cursed in a low voice. If he hesitated, he would miss both sides. He quickly flew forward, heading straight for the great hall. The ring glowed and blocked Zi Chen's path, blocking the killing intent. Zi Chen followed behind, his body gradually feeling uncomfortable. This was only the outside. What could be inside the main hall? When he was still a step away from the main hall, the ring began to tremble and the light on it flickered. More killing intent passed through the ring and invaded Zi Chen's body. The feeling of his skin being pierced came again. Zi Chen looked at the door of the hall and didn't go forward. Instead, he took out some immortal power to refine. Under the huge pressure, perhaps it could increase the refining speed. The young man came from behind. Although he had the golden bell in his hand, he didn't dare to use it directly. He didn't want to wait for the feeling of losing a second time. Before he reached the place where the skeleton stood, he stopped directly. The chill made his expression change. His eyes stared ahead. He was only 100 feet away from Zi Chen, but it was like an insurmountable chasm. Zi Chen, hand over the power of the golden body, and I can spare your life. The young man, standing 100 feet away, said. Zi Chen ignored him. His body was shining with golden light, resisting the huge pressure to refine. His physical body had improved greatly. Moreover, because he had obtained the physical body technique, the power that had entered his body was now changing his physique. This time it was a comprehensive change. His physical body, blood, and even the essence of his body were changing. Kid, I'm talking to you. Didn't you hear me? The young man's eyes became colder. Come here. I'll give it to you. Zi Chen replied indifferently. He was still seizing the time to refine. You're courting death. He raised the golden bell and wanted to activate it, but after thinking about it, he put it down. Then a light flashed in front of him and an oil lamp appeared. The oil lamp was simple and unadorned, but the moment it appeared, it emitted a terrifying aura. The young man held up the oil lamp and channeled a wave of power into it. The oil lamp lit up. Light surged out from the wick of the lamp and fell down, isolating all of the coldness outside. Although Zi Chen was refining the power, he didn't relax. After seeing this scene, his expression changed. He didn't expect the other party to have such a precious treasure. He became nervous. The young man held the oil lamp and moved forward. Although the killing intent was blocked, his speed wasn't fast because the oil lamp needed to consume power with every step he took. The killing intent was like the wind everywhere. Even the oil lamp couldn't completely block it. Occasionally, a trace of it would pass through the lamp and land on his body, but it was blocked by the light around his body. After walking for about 10 feet, the murderous intent in the light increased significantly, and the defense formed by his body dimmed. Another 10 feet. With a bang, his defense was broken. The killing intent that landed on his body cut his robe and landed on his skin, causing a trace of blood. The young man looked down at the wound, and his face became gloomy. At this moment, he was still a few dozen feet away from Zi Chen. Buzz! He activated the ancient lamp again, and the ancient lamp shone brightly. He moved forward another 300 feet, and the light on the ancient lamp gradually dimmed. Chi! 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 Suddenly, a lot of wind appeared, leaving dozens of wounds on his body. At this moment, he was only 20 feet away from Zi Chen. Looking at the golden light flickering on Zi Chen's body, his face became colder. Brat, I'll kill you today. Suddenly, the young man spat a mouthful of blood on the ancient lamp. The originally simple and unadorned ancient lamp instantly absorbed the blood and became demonic. The light that fell from the ancient lamp turned into streaks of blood, blocking more than 90% of the killing intent. The young man sped up and approached Zi Chen. Zi Chen opened his eyes and looked behind him. Without hesitation, he immediately activated the ring and entered the main hall. In an instant, the killing intent on his body increased by more than 10 times. Boom! Chapter 49-24. The young man exerted his strength and activated the ancient lamp with his blood, accelerating forward. Who knew that right at this moment, Zi Chen actually flashed into the main hall. There was a loud boom. The other closed door of the main hall shook. Zi Chen's body must have smashed into the door. It was a great opportunity to kill Zi Chen. However, at this moment, the killing intent in front of them suddenly became stronger, and the ancient lamp began to shake. It turned out that without Zichen blocking it, more killing intent surged out of the main hall. Damn it! The young man cursed and stopped trying to move forward. Instead, he slowly retreated, because the others were also rushing here. When they came to the edge of the killing intent and felt the bone-chilling killing intent, their faces changed and they all stopped. Helen also came. When she felt the killing intent, she was also shocked. How did Zichen get in with such strong killing intent? The young man walked to the periphery and put away the ancient lamp at the same time. The arrival of these people made him give up the idea of going all out. However, he was obviously unwilling to leave just like that. After putting away the ancient lamp, he took a few steps forward and used the killing intent to train his body. Zichen did the same just now. The only difference was that he did not have the pure immortal energy in his body. However, he had the golden grains, so it was not bad. After seeing this, the others followed suit and tried their best to use the killing intent to train their bodies. Alva and the others were a little dumbfounded. They did not absorb any energy before. How could they train their bodies now? However, since they were already here, it was obviously inappropriate to leave. Helen sat down cross-legged and said, "Hurry up! Every bit of improvement counts." When the others saw this, they immediately went forward. Everyone who came here stopped at the edge of the killing intent and used the killing intent to train their bodies. Perhaps some of them had supreme treasures that could resist the killing intent and enter the main hall, but no one tried, because they knew very well that they would have to come out after entering. A strong impact fell on Zichen's body. He leaned against the door and fell. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The ring in front of him was shaking violently, and the light on it was fluctuating. Zichen immediately took out a portion of the immortal golden body's power to refine it. At this moment, a cracking sound was heard. Some cracks had appeared on the ring that Zichen had exchanged for with a large amount of points. The ring was on the verge of collapsing. Zichen didn't dare to be distracted and accelerated the refinement of the immortal power. Crack, crack, the cracks were still extending. When the killing intent landed on his body, it was like a chisel being struck by a weapon. Occasionally, a sonorous sound could be heard. Streams of immortal energy entered Zichen's body, strengthening his body from the very foundation. However, right now, he could only be considered a beginner. Although his body was shining with golden light, he was still very far from being a true immortal. Zichen quickly refined the energy, not daring to waste even a little bit of time. Bang! The cracks on the ring spread to the extreme, and then it shattered with a loud bang. The spiritual power disappeared and the fragments scattered, falling to the ground with a loud crash. The boundless killing intent landed on Zichen's body like countless daggers, cutting his body. In an instant, it tore apart Zichen's golden light defense and opened up bloody grooves on his body. The people outside opened their eyes. They didn't know what had happened inside, but they felt that the killing intent had become stronger again. Several of them had bloody lines on their skin. The killing intent has become so strong. Zichen wouldn't have died inside, right? Someone suddenly muttered softly. The young man's expression changed. The sound of objects shattering was most likely Zichen's guardian ring. If he really died inside, it would be troublesome. "Hey, you inside, are you dead?" The young man suddenly shouted. "Don't worry, I won't die even if you die." Zichen's voice sounded, but it was obvious that he was a little weak. "It's good that you're not dead. Is there any opportunity inside?" The young man asked again, but this time Zichen couldn't answer. The killing intent in front of him had become stronger. There wasn't a single part of his body that was intact. Blood had already covered his entire body. Fortunately, he had obtained the immortal golden body. His bones had been tempered by the immortal energy and had undergone a qualitative change, blocking the attack of the killing intent. Otherwise, he would be a piece of meat lying on the ground. Buzz, boundless immortal energy, was mobilized by Zi-Chin and entered his body. His body was strengthened by the killing intent. The blood and meridians in his body were also rapidly recovering. In a situation where his body was seriously injured, Zi-Chin absorbed the energy even faster. His flesh and skin began to gradually heal. His originally bloody body was once again enveloped by the golden light. After adapting to this place, he could finally look forward. His eyes lit up. Using his immortal spiritual eye, he saw that the entire hall was filled with countless divine runes. These divine runes were closely connected and layered together. Zi-Chen's eyes grew brighter. This wasn't just a chain of divine runes, but a heaven and earth sealing divine rune array. There were 99 powerful divine runes in the sky and on the ground. From the outside, there didn't seem to be anything out of the ordinary. But once inside, it was equivalent to 99 divine rune worlds with unlimited killing intent. He continued to look forward and saw something at the core. It was a very small altar. Around the altar, there were 8 ancient pillars. Some beasts were carved on the pillars. There were dragons and phoenixes. They seemed to be creatures that lived in the immortal spell world. And in the center of the altar, there was a blood-red heart floating. The infinitely terrifying killing intent came from that heart. Even though there were countless divine rune worlds, it was still clearly transmitted. Other than that, there was nothing else. Zi-Chin was shocked. The immortal golden body had died outside because of a palm strike. Could it be that the palm strike was from this heart that had obviously been refined? Whose heart was this? How could it be so terrifying? Suddenly, Zi-Chen thought of the place where the spirit of massacre was. Under the lake, there was a corpse suppressed. Countless years had passed, but there was still some light left. In that case, could this heart have something to do with that skeleton? Or could it be that this was the corpse's heart, but it was just placed here? There was no life in the heart. Obviously, it had been dead for many years. But the killing intent it released was still terrifying. Dong! At this moment, there was a loud tremor. The heart beat, and a ripple passed through the altar, crossed the 99 divine rune worlds, and arrived in front of Zi-Chin. Zi-Chin felt a sudden pain in his heart. It was as if a mysterious force was tightly clasping his heart, making it extremely difficult for him to breathe. At the same time, he lost control of the immortal golden body. His physical body that could block the killing intent couldn't block this ripple. Buzz! At this moment, the black stone appeared on its own and shook in front of Zi-Chin. The uncomfortable feeling dissipated. Chapter 49-25. The black stone glowed and blocked the intense killing intent. Zi-Chen still had lingering fears. His strong body had actually lost its ability to react. His heart felt like it was being squeezed by a force that could explode at any time. The floating black stone was able to block all the killing intent. This black stone that he had casually picked up had once again displayed its magical side. Zi-Chin no longer felt uncomfortable. There were many people outside who could come in at any time. Zi-Chin did not dare to waste any more time. His eyes flashed as he walked forward. Only he who had the celestial spiritual eye could understand such a complicated diagram. And because he had some knowledge of divine runes, not only could he understand it, but he also knew how to resolve it. Zi-Chin walked on top of the divine inscription diagram, and as he did so, sparks of fire disappeared from his vision. Every time Zi-Chin stepped on top of the divine inscription diagram, the divine inscription diagram would cause ripples to form beneath his feet. Everything seemed simple, but in reality, he had crossed a terrifying world of fire. It was not something that an ordinary person could do. This was the power of divine runes. Zi-Chin walked on the diagram. His speed was sometimes fast and sometimes slow. His figure also flickered in and out of the diagram. Right now, what Zi-Chin felt the most was shock, or rather, astonishment. This heart had been sealed for countless years, but the power generated by its heartbeat could actually pass through the many divine rune worlds and attack his body. Then, did that palm also pass through many worlds to destroy the immortal golden body? Don't. As if sensing Zi-Chen's approach, the heart beat again. However, the black stone floated like a boulder, releasing a misty light that blocked all the power. Zi-Chen was not affected and continued walking forward. But those outside were not so relaxed. When the heart beat for the first time, everyone felt their hearts tighten. It was as if their hearts were being grabbed by a force, and it was abnormally uncomfortable. The killing intent that they could barely block before entered their bodies. In an instant, many people saw a sea of blood, and then they coughed out mouthfuls of blood. When the vibrating ripples disappeared, only the killing intent was left. Those who were coughing out blood and injured immediately retreated. Their eyes were filled with fear. That indescribable vibration almost took away half of their lives. They no longer dared to stay in their original positions. Some of the people who had withstood the shockwave earlier turned around and swept a glance at them. Every single one of them had disdain in their eyes. Right at this moment, the tremors started again. This time it was even more intense than before, as if a heavy hammer had landed on his heart. Dong! As the sound reverberated in their bodies, many people's bodies trembled. Some were even forcibly pushed back. During this time, not only did some people cough up blood, some even coughed out pieces of their hearts. Their hearts were actually shattered in an instant. Fortunately, they were not mortals. They immediately mobilized their own energy and began to heal their injuries. At this moment, no one dared to continue sitting there. They all retreated into the distance and looked at the door with fear. What was inside? Is Zi-Chen dead? The young man's expression changed as he shouted. Zi-Chen didn't reply. Right now, he had already entered the divine inscription diagram and was moving closer to the heart. He couldn't hear anything from the outside world. Dead. The young man shouted, "If you're not dead, then scream." Helen and the rest had already retreated to the back. At this moment, when they heard the young man's words, they all had a bad feeling in their hearts. Zi-Chen didn't move. Did something unexpected happen? Many people thought so in their hearts. At the same time, they were also very curious about what was inside. The young man hesitated. Should he go in and take a look? There must be something extraordinary inside. Don't! Right at this moment, the tremors started again. This time, a ripple directly surged out from the door of the hall. When the crowd saw this ripple-like ripple, their expressions changed greatly, and they all retreated backwards. The sound from before was already so terrifying. This time, the real ripple was even more terrifying. This kind of tremors appeared from time to time, and everyone gave up on the idea of entering. The divine inscription diagram here couldn't stop Zi-Chen, who had the immortal spiritual eye. He walked through the divine inscription diagram, crossing a divine inscription world with a single step. In the end, he walked through 99 different worlds and arrived at the core area. As soon as he arrived, he felt an extremely strong pressure. Even the black stone couldn't block it. The altar was very mysterious. The creatures carved on it were as if they were real, vivid, and lifelike. The heart stopped beating, and it stopped. It was a blood-red heart. On the surface, there was nothing abnormal. It was hard to imagine that it possessed a terrifying power. Now that he was close, Zi-Chen was even more careful. If the heart trembled, he would die. Right now, it was hard to tell if the heart was still beating or if it was hibernating. Walking closer, Zi-Chen didn't know what to do next. The heart was so terrifying that it needed the black stone to suppress it. What should he do now that he was here? Refine it? As soon as this thought appeared, Zi-Chen dismissed it. Once the two sides came into contact, it was hard to say who would refine who. But if he couldn't refine it, what was the point of coming here? Just as Zi-Chen was in a dilemma, an engraving suddenly appeared in the black stone. This engraving was only the size of a palm, but it was extremely complicated and emitted an ancient aura. After it appeared, it flew into the altar and imprinted on the heart. The originally still heart suddenly started to tremble violently, as if it had encountered an intense danger. Don! Don! The strong tremors were transmitted to the outside world again. This time, it was like the beating of a drum, very dense. Everyone retreated again and again, looking in front of them in shock. At this moment, Zichen was also shocked. The heart in front of him started to tremble at a small frequency, as if it was trying to break free from the seal of the altar. The engraving that appeared on the black stone was blocked by the light released by the heart and couldn't enter. From the looks of it, it wouldn't be long before the heart escaped from here. The engraving couldn't suppress it at all. At this moment, the black stone suddenly flew forward and floated above the heart. Don! It trembled slightly, and a ripple spread out. The beating heart calmed down for a moment, and the frequency of its tremors decreased. Don! The black stone trembled again, and the light on the surface of the heart faded. The aura that made Zichen feel incomparably powerful dissipated, just like that. Don! The black stone trembled for the third time, and the heart fell completely silent. Then the engraving imprinted on the heart like a dense net, firmly sealing it. The black stone flew back, and the surging killing intent disappeared. The hall returned to normal. The killing intent that had existed for countless years disappeared, just like that. Just as Zichen was surprised, he saw the heart flying towards him and finally entering his body. It was as if there was a powerful force rushing into his heart. Zichen felt a pain in his heart. Chapter 49:26. The murderous aura that had been shrouding the hall disappeared. Everyone filed in and saw Zichen in front of the altar. There was nothing above the altar except for Zichen. Whoosh! Almost like a conditioned reflex. Everyone spread out in all directions, forming an encirclement. Zichen was currently in a state of shock. That terrifying heart had actually rushed into his body. Once the seal of the black stone was broken, his body would definitely explode. Hand over the treasure! The young man looked at the black stone in Zichen's hand and thought of the vibration he had heard before. He guessed that it was the treasure. The eyes of the others were also fixed on Haysher. Only Alva and the others were dumbfounded. They had looked at the stone over and over again. It was just a piece of broken black stone. How could it be a treasure? Zichen came back to his senses and looked at everyone. He glanced at Alva with a warning look in his eyes. Alva didn't quite understand that look. Zichen said, "Everyone, there's nothing here. Bulsh *T. Give me the black stone in your hand." The young man stared at Zichen. "And that sword. Give it to me too." The young man was still thinking about the path sword. There was a flash of golden light in front of him, and a huge golden bell appeared. This was his greatest weapon. "There are so many people here. If I give it to you, what about the others?" Zichen played with the black stone and said, "Why don't you all discuss and decide who's best to give it to?" "Cut the crap. Just throw it out and we'll distribute it ourselves." The young man's voice was cold. Clearly, he was not going to be provoked. Zichen's gaze continued to move. This time he looked at Alva. Seeing that he was not moving at all, he asked, "Are you guys also here to snatch me?" "We." Alva was stunned and wanted to explain. Just then, Big Beard stepped forward and grabbed him. Without saying anything, he pulled Alva back. Helen and the others had already retreated to the door. They had seen Zichen's expression and knew that they couldn't stay here any longer. Otherwise, they would become a nuisance. From the looks of it, Zichen shouldn't be in any danger. However, as soon as they walked out of the hall, everyone retreated back one by one. In front of them, Jeffrey was closing in. "I say, you bunch of spectators, where do you think you're going?" Jeffrey had clearly recovered from his injuries. His eyes scanned the surroundings before landing on Zichen. In the next moment, A cold, killing intent surged in his eyes. You've become a turtle in a jar. Let's see if you can survive this time. Have you recovered from your injuries? Chen looked at Jeffrey in surprise. Jeffrey had been severely injured, but he had recovered so quickly. Hearing Chen's words, Jeffrey became even more enraged. Chen was only an insignificant initial realm cultivator, yet he had been forced into such a difficult situation. Chen put away the black stone. As far as he knew, the black stone could not be used for battle. Everyone's expression tensed up. Were they going to rush out? The 5 great golden bells were raised. They were ready for battle. Chen did not come out. Instead, he sat cross-legged and cultivated in front of everyone. The clothes on his body were tattered, hanging on his body like rags. However, the ghastly wounds from before had all healed. He took out a golden light and refined it. This was the power of the immortal golden body. It was purer and larger than the golden granules that everyone had obtained before. Everyone's eyes lit up when they saw it. Obviously, Chen, who had been the first to enter, had obtained many good things here. Kill him, the young man shouted. The aura around him began to surge. The great golden bell suspended above his head, surging with ripples. The other 4 people also began to activate the golden bells. In an instant, the 5 great golden bells emitted light. The ripples continued to surge, and the surrounding space began to distort. Everyone else was ready to attack. However, their expressions soon changed. This was because the ripples of the 5 great golden bells were circulating. The aura gradually strengthened, but none of them were truly activated. They were all accumulating power. No one was exerting force. What is the meaning of this? A high-level cultivator asked in dissatisfaction. Can't you see that they are accumulating power? The young man glanced at him with displeasure. But they can't be accumulating power for so long. Someone muttered in a low voice, feeling depressed. Obviously, Chen was sitting cross-legged because of the divine runes here. The 5 great golden bells were specialized in restraining divine runes. Perhaps just one vibration would be enough to completely destroy this place. However, the 5 of them did not attack. No one knew if it was a discussion or a natural tacit understanding. Chen closed his eyes and did not pay attention to the situation here. Everyone, if you don't want to wait, you can go in and try it yourself. A high-level cultivator with a golden bell suddenly said, "We can temporarily protect you here to prevent accidents from happening." When everyone heard this, they were furious. Was he using them as cannon fodder? Although they were greedy, they did not want to lose their lives here. They had already seen how powerful Chen was. They could still take advantage of him by attacking from the side. However, no one was willing to fight at the front. As if to show their determination, everyone took a few steps back. They were not stupid. They knew that if they rushed in now, they would be cannon fodder. Without the protection of supreme treasures, they would be killed in one move. The young man looked displeased. But at this moment, he did not have the ability to make everyone rush forward, so he could only look at the other 4. I say, it's already so late. Don't hide anymore. Break the divine runes and kill Chen. Whoever has the ability will get the opportunity. Okay, Jeffrey was the first to agree, because he was the only heavens chosen here. The chances of him getting the good stuff were higher. The other 3 had no objections and nodded at the same time. Buzz! The 5 great golden bells released a strong aura. They were about to be activated. When the others saw this, their eyes lit up and they retreated again. Chen opened his eyes. The 5 great golden bells were activated together. It was still a great threat to this place. At this moment, the golden bells vibrated and 5 melodious sounds came one after another. The restriction-breaking divine runes appeared and reverberated in this area. In an instant, the 99 divine runes of heaven and earth, which had been hidden, all appeared. Countless lights flashed, and the divine runes dazzled everyone. Looking at the two forces in a stalemate, Zichen, who had been a little worried before, was now relieved. The 99 divine rune worlds seemed different, but in fact they were connected. Although the 5 great golden bells were terrifying, as long as these worlds were not destroyed in an instant, they could not be broken. It's useless. Just walk in obediently. Zichen closed his eyes again, looking very confident. Chapter 49:27. Dong! The golden bell was vibrating, and the sound of the bell lingered, forming ripples that spread out. 99 heaven and earth divine runes rose and fell as one, like 99 real worlds, working together to dissolve the power of the golden bell. The golden bell, which had always been successful, didn't bring the result that everyone wanted to see. The young man looked at Zichen, who was sitting cross-legged, and murderous intent surged in his eyes. Go in and kill him. They had tried many times to use the golden bell, but to no avail. If they wanted to snatch Zichen's things, it seemed that they could only kill their way in. That kid is strange. It's better for us to move forward together, someone with a golden bell suggested. The others nodded. In fact, they were not only wary of Zichen, but also of each other. If the 5 of them stayed together, there would be a restriction. Let's go. The 5 of them called back their golden bells and stepped into the divine rune world. Waves of ripples rose, and the 5 of them disappeared together with their golden bells. The existences who had retreated earlier gathered again, and their gazes passed through the divine runes, looking at Zichen. They seemed close, but in fact they were separated by many worlds. One of them hesitated for a moment and then followed. At this moment, they could only rely on themselves. Then the others entered one after another, obviously not wanting to miss this opportunity. In the blink of an eye, everyone had gone in, and only Alva and the others were left standing at the door. They had been driven in by Jeffrey, but he didn't attack them. Without anyone else, the two sides could communicate normally. Alva asked anxiously, Zichen, how are you? Wait for me outside next to the lake. Zichen opened his eyes and looked at them. After leaving behind a sentence, he took the initiative to enter the divine rune world. Seeing Zichen disappear, Alva was stunned, and then he looked at Helen. Boss, what should we do? Let's go and wait outside. Helen turned and walked toward the outside. He's so confident. I don't think his life is in danger. Big Beard and Luo Xiao followed. To be honest, they really admired Zichen. His realm was so low, but his combat power was so strong that it was terrifying. Now, including Helen, no one dared to say that they could defeat Zichen with 100% certainty. Zichen entered a world of ice. The cold wind was bone-chilling, and there were no living creatures in this white world. His eyes flickered as he activated his immortal spiritual eye. What seemed like a peaceful world was actually filled with killing intent. Earlier, he could have walked to the edge of the divine inscriptions and left, leaving the others to slowly explore the divine inscriptions. However, after hesitating, Zichen gave up on the idea of leaving. Since he had come here, he had to take all the opportunities. According to the memories he had obtained previously, in the heaven and earth divine rune array, besides the original countless divine seals, there would also be pure heaven and earth energy. This was one of the foundations that maintained the existence of the heaven and earth divine rune array. It was commonly known as the energy supply. Since the heart had disappeared, the divine rune array no longer had any reason to suppress it. Zichen wanted to take this portion of energy away. Zichen walked around in a circle, but didn't discover anything. Then he stepped into the second world. This world was filled with dense sword energy. Everything was like a sword, and killing intent pervaded the air. Zichen moved forward carefully, not triggering any attacks. Then the third world, the fourth world. After walking through 8 worlds in a row, he still didn't find what he wanted. This made Zichen a little depressed, and he began to doubt his knowledge. In the ninth world, there were statues everywhere. The entire world fell into silence. The possibility of this world having energy was even lower. Just as Zichen was about to leave, a sharp killing intent suddenly appeared behind him. Clang! Zichen quickly turned around and blocked with his Dao sword. Following the energy shock, Zichen's figure retreated. A man with a long spear in his hand and a golden bell in his left hand appeared here. It was one of the 5 great golden bells. Kid, I finally found you. Die. The man's eyes were filled with killing intent. He pointed the long spear in his hand and swept it in all directions. As the spear light fell in all directions, the statues from before revived one after another. A terrifying aura pervaded the air. The man with the golden bell sneered, "Let's see how you deal with this." The revived statues were different strange beasts. After appearing, they rushed towards him. The golden bell in the man's hand gently rippled. He stayed in the ripples of the golden bell. When the strange beasts rushed forward, they deliberately bypassed him. The man seemed to have discovered a magical use of the golden bell. However, in Zichen's eyes, although these strange beasts were powerful, they were full of flaws. Because they were all formed by divine runes, they had obvious weaknesses that could be seen by the immortal spiritual eye. Buzz! The Dao sword trembled and moved forward, turning into a misty light that swept past the bodies of the strange beasts. In an instant, all the strange beasts that rushed forward died. Your weapon is really good. The man's eyes lit up. He could see that Zichen's Dao sword was a supreme treasure that was no weaker than the golden bell. He waved the long spear again, and a large amount of light fell in all directions. More statues gradually revived. Swish! After killing the strange beasts, the Dao sword rushed towards the other party. Wherever it passed, it brought about vibrating ripples. The ripples fell on the statues that were about to revive, and then fell layer by layer, sealing them again. The man's eyes changed. This was amazing. Even his golden bell couldn't do this. Die. The Dao sword approached and hit the golden bell, bursting out waves of ripples. Zichen used the thunder escape technique and quickly rushed in front of the other party, his fist falling. Golden light flashed, and a wisp of immortal power was mobilized. Boom! His fist smashed on the other party's long spear, and a powerful energy shook. The man quickly retreated with a trace of fear in his eyes. Die! Zichen's eyes flashed with killing intent, and a small golden sword flew out from between his eyebrows. This was a pure soul manifestation, and its attack was tyrannical. Puff! The small golden sword sank into the other party's sea of consciousness. The other party let out a scream, and his body retreated again. During this time, the energy around him surged crazily like a wave, spreading into the distance. The nearby statues were reviving one after another. Buzz! The Dao sword trembled, turning into a stream of light to chase after the golden bell. Wherever it passed, the ripples would suppress the statues that were about to revive, causing them to return to silence. Zichen chased after the other party, his fists raining down like raindrops. The higher level of the trial was retreating, his face full of shock. After a series of battles, he was completely suppressed by Zichen, who was at the initial level. If it wasn't for the golden bell, he might have died. Die. At this moment, he heard Zichen's cold voice. Zichen threw a powerful punch. The immortal power shone brightly, and with killing intent, it went straight for the other party. Gino felt death approaching. Facing this punch, he was almost unable to resist. He wanted to summon the golden bell, but the Dao sword suppressed it. Chapter 49:28. The golden light appeared in front of Gino, and a bell rang from afar. Countless divine patterns surged, forming a wave that spread out. Gino's body retreated uncontrollably, getting further and further away from that deadly golden fist. His expression changed at first, and then it was filled with ecstasy. Clang! The bell rang, and the golden fist collided with the golden bell, forming an even more violent energy. Zi-chun retreated, looking ahead with a gloomy expression. The golden bell flew backward, and that young man appeared in front of him. His expression did not look too good either. Actually, he did not want to save Gino from the bottom of his heart, and he even had the thought of secretly beating him up. However, Zi-chen's combat power was too strong. Once he killed Gino and had the golden bell, it would be difficult to kill him. Therefore, it was better to work together to kill Zi-chen first, and then kill Gino afterward. Work together! The golden bell floated above his head, and the young man stared coldly at Zi-chen. Swoosh! Gino recalled the golden bell, nodded, and stood beside the young man. 2 golden bells, one big and one small, floated in the air, brewing a violent aura. The path sword also flew back to Zi-chen's side, floating there with the tip of the sword facing the two of them. Do it! The bell rang above the young man's head, and a powerful wave came toward Zi-chen. Wherever the wave passed, the nearby statues quickly recovered. In front of Zi-chen, the path sword trembled and slashed forward. The golden bell's wave was split into 2, and it could not get close to Zi-chen. At the same time, the path sword flew into the air, releasing divine patterns as it trembled, suppressing those awakened beasts. That sword is strange. It can seal divine patterns. Gino said in a low voice as he looked at the young man's test. It is indeed a treasure. All the more reason not to miss it. The young man glanced at the huge golden bell above his head, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Can't you seal it? Let me see how much you can seal. The bell rang, and countless waves spread, causing all the statues nearby to recover. Gino understood what the young man meant, and he followed suit. Seeing this, Zi-chun retreated, and at the same time his sword flew back. Don't you think it's childish? Zi-chen said coldly. Do you have the ability to fight me? The young man sneered. There's a ready-made statue that can kill you. Why would we be in a hurry to act? The golden bell quickly drew a circle in this world, almost reviving more than half of the statues. These statues transformed into strange beasts and charged toward Zi-chen. Idiot! Zi-chen glanced at the exotic beasts, then turned to look at the 2 complacent people. After saying that, he turned around and ran off into the distance. His eyes sparkled as his immortal spiritual eye had already seen through everything. The entire divine inscription formation appeared in his eyes. He could clearly see where the dangers were and where he could enter and exit. After running for about 10 zhang, the Dao sword slashed forward and a space appeared in front of him. Zi-chen flashed into the space. These 2 idiots thought that he had sealed the statues because he was afraid. In fact, it was just that he did not want the divine inscription world to collapse prematurely. Otherwise, he would not be able to find the remaining energy here. A golden light entered Zi-chen's eyes, and this made his expression change. He thought that he had met someone else. Then, Zi-chen realized that this was a golden world, and everything in this world was a sword. This was a very famous killing formation in the divine inscription formation. It belonged to the metal element of the 5 elements, and the surroundings were filled with killing intent. Whoosh! A cold light suddenly appeared, and Zi-chen dodged it. The afterimage he left behind was penetrated. Another existence with a golden bell appeared in this world. It was not Jeffrey, nor was it the 2 from before. Zi-chen did not have to worry. His Dao, sword, and fist attacked together, and powerful energy vibrated. After just 5 rounds, the other party had the intention to retreat, and his face was full of shock. Of course, Zi-chun would not let him escape. He chased after him with the thunder art escape. The other party took out a sword, and Zi-chen's shining golden fist landed. Boom! The first punch cracked it, and the second punch shattered it. However, This delay was enough for another person to rush in. The two joined forces and began to attack Zichen. Zichen was not afraid at all. His golden fist was like the strongest weapon in the world, and at close range it destroyed several weapons. His whole body was bathed in golden light, and immortal energy surrounded him. The aura of his body seemed to have immortality. Damn it! He obtained that physical body technique. The young man and Gino followed. Looking at the powerful Zichen, their expressions were very ugly. Whoosh! At this moment, Jeffrey also arrived. The 5 golden bells were finally gathered. Die! After seeing Zichen, Jeffrey immediately rushed at him. His eyes gradually turned red, and a crazy killing intent surged. The 4 wanted to stop him, but gave up after thinking about it. Of course, it would be best if both sides could suffer heavy losses. The 2 quickly approached each other. During this time, they exchanged punches in the sky. At the same time, the Path Sword and the Golden Bell also collided, forming a terrifying aura that spread in all directions. As these ripples spread, the golden sword light, formed by the divine patterns in the surroundings, dissipated one by one. This was originally a divine pattern killing array, a very dangerous place. However, everyone either had a golden bell or a path sword, so it was very easy here. Boom! 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 Powerful energy vibrated in the sky. When the 2 were punching, golden sword light would occasionally fly out of Zichen's sea of consciousness and attack Jeffrey's soul. Zichen had been taking the initiative to attack. How is this possible? In the distance, Gino looked at the battle in the sky in disbelief. The other 3 were also in a state of shock. He's only at the initial stage of the trial. How can his combat power be so strong? Gino could hardly believe that the 2 sides were actually evenly matched when there was a difference of 1 level between them. Boom! Zichen was bathed in the golden light. The boundless light was dazzling like the sun. His fist fell like a heavy hammer, and a thunderous roar resounded in the sky. Jeffrey was knocked back 1,000 feet, and his expression was extremely ugly. He mobilized the terrifying power of the Heaven's Choice realm and sent a palm strike at Zichen. Zichen looked at the sky and punched again, using his body as a weapon. He shattered the palm strike with a boom. The energy in the sky collapsed layer by layer, destroying even more of the sword light in the surroundings. Damn it! Jeffrey was very angry and mobilized an even stronger attack. The surrounding space was distorted, and this divine pattern world seemed to be on the verge of shattering. A terrifying aura spread out layer by layer, and everyone in the distance sensed danger. Boom! Zichen was knocked into the ground, and his body rolled for a few dozen feet. However, before anyone could go forward to investigate, he quickly flipped over and rushed up again. With this kind of physical body, he can be considered immortal. The young man gritted his teeth and said, "This guy's luck is too good." When he first entered this place, Zichen did not have such a powerful physical body. How long had it been since then? His physical body had improved to such a level and was no weaker than a Heaven's Choice realm cultivator. His soul was also very terrifying and could suppress those in the same realm. At this time, Jeffrey's voice suddenly rang out. "Stop watching the show. The 5 of you will work together and end this quickly." Chapter 49-29. When Jeffrey fought with Zichen, he could clearly see how strong Zichen was. Regardless of whether he could win or not, once both sides were injured, the 4 people watching the show would definitely attack him first. Moreover, he did not have the confidence to suppress Zichen. The 4 people heard the voice and came forward. From the current situation, the 5 of them could only work together. The young man did not use the golden bell, but instead took out the ancient lamp. As he poured energy into it, the ancient lamp lit up. Whoa! The wick of the lamp trembled slightly, and endless killing intent filled the air. In an instant, It was as if there were countless swords of light shooting towards Zi Chen in the sky. Zi Chen's body shone with a golden light, blocking these attacks. For a moment, the sound of clanking could be heard. The young man did not immediately use the golden bell, which was very surprising. After all, his golden bell was the largest and most powerful. Kill! At this moment, a seal flew out from one of the people beside him. The seal was simple and unadorned, with a picture of a beast engraved on it. Wang. The seal trembled and flew into the sky, turning into the size of a mountain and pressing down on Zichen. A simple and unadorned aura filled the air. The beast seemed to come to life, and there was an oppressive aura in the sky. Zichen looked up at the sky, his body shining with golden light. His immortal body was activated, and the energy within his body wrapped around his fist as he punched out. Boom! The seal flew back, and all the beast's light patterns dimmed. Following that, two powerful attacks came at Zichen. Zichen used the Thunder escape technique to dodge, and he also punched out to destroy the two attacks. The four people did not directly use the golden bell, which was beyond Zi Chen's expectations. However, this was also what he wanted. In this battle, he could temper his body and improve his combat strength. His weakness is energy. Let's exhaust him. The young man took out the ancient lamp again, and a rainbow light flew out from it. The golden bell floated above his head, shining with golden light, but it did not attack. Kill! Battle cries sounded from both sides as the other three attacked. Jeffrey sent out a palm from afar with the intent to destroy the world. Just as the young man had said, no matter how powerful Zichen was, his strength was only at the initial realm of the trial. This was an indisputable fact. As long as the battle continued, the first one to fall would be Zichen. The 5 great golden bells floated above their heads. They didn't take the initiative to attack because they had to guard against Zichen's Dao sword. Now that the 5 of them had joined forces, they were actually in a defensive position. Of course, this was not because Zichen was too strong, but because they were also wary of each other. Zichen flashed several times in a row, trying to break out of the encirclement, but to no avail. In addition to the golden bell, everyone had other items on them that were extraordinarily powerful. Zichen might not be afraid of fighting alone, but now that the 5 of them were working together, it was still difficult for him to deal with them. Let's work together to trap him and exhaust him to death. Jeffrey stood at the outermost perimeter. As the strongest person present, he was responsible for preventing Zichen from suddenly escaping. Zichen began to practice his fist technique, recalling the last punch of the immortal golden body. That was a punch filled with unwillingness. Zichen acted as a guide and communicated with that punch to severely injure Jeffrey. In addition to the unwillingness of that punch, there was also fist technique and fist theory in it. Zichen was punching, mobilizing his immortal power, and beginning to practice it over and over again. With the 5 of them working together, they began to shrink the encirclement. Zichen's space to move became smaller and smaller, but he didn't care at all. At this moment, his consciousness was completely immersed in the state of punching with the immortal golden body. Chi! Chi! The golden light fell on Zichen's body like a sword, but he couldn't dodge in time. His robe was torn, and small wounds appeared on his skin. He had expended a lot of energy, and now his immortal body was somewhat exhausted. He was gradually showing signs of defeat, but Zichen still didn't care. He only left a part of his energy to control his body, and the rest of his consciousness was integrated into his fist technique. Peng! A sword light approached, and Zichen punched out, shattering the sword light. He closed his eyes slightly, and everything was like a conditioned reflex. Peng! The square seal approached, and just as it was about to hit Zichen's head, Zichen punched the sky, and the square seal was sent flying. Jeffrey looked at Zichen in front of him. The power of the opponent's punch was not strong, but the effect was unexpected, and the power was increasing. He thought of the punch with the immortal golden body, and his face changed immediately. Oh no, he's comprehending the fist technique. Hurry up and interrupt him. That punch had almost taken his life. Now he could feel a familiar aura from Zi-Chen's body. Jeffrey's palm fell, and a terrifying palm print raged and fell on the head. Boom! In the next moment, the golden fist light pierced the palm print into the sky. Zi-Chen's body was bathed in golden light, and several punches broke the approaching attack. However, the aura around his body didn't weaken, and instead became stronger. I see. Finally, Zi-Chen opened his eyes and woke up. In an instant, he understood the mystery of that punch. Omnipotent, go forward bravely. This was the power of that punch. No matter how strong the opponent is, I only have one punch. Boom! Zi-Chen's aura suddenly became violent, and his whole body was bathed in golden light. At this moment, his immortal body became extremely abundant. After understanding the principle of the punch, his immortal body became stronger again. Die! The young man took out the ancient lamp and attacked Zi-Chen. Zi-Chen clenched his fist and punched. An indescribable aura emerged from Zi-Chen's body, and the power of his punch instantly increased. Boom! Like a sun shining in the sky, the ancient lamp was instantly sent flying, and disappeared from sight like a stream of light. The young man's face changed drastically. He had lost his perception of the ancient lamp. The square seal with the walking beast picture approached and attacked again. The walking beast on the picture seemed to be coming to life. Zi-Chen punched again, and the square seal flew into the sky. At this moment, Zi-Chen seemed to have turned into an invincible god of war. His golden fists kept falling, and the encirclement expanded again. Attack with all your strength, or he'll escape. Jeffrey roared anxiously. Clang! Seeing this, the others no longer dared to hold back and used their golden bells. For a moment, the sound of bells echoed, and the 5 golden bells began to suppress Zi-Chen. Above Zi-Chen's head, the path sword flowed with brilliance like lightning and flew toward the 5 golden bells. For a moment, the sound of bells echoed in the field. The power of the path sword was so strong that the golden bells were forced to retreat, and the encirclement showed signs of being torn apart again. We have to work together, the young man shouted. Everyone, enter your strongest state. With that, the golden bell in front of him burst out with a dazzling golden brilliance. From afar, it looked like a golden crow hanging in the sky. At the same time, the other 4 golden bells also changed, each with their own appearance. Some were burning with flames, some were full of vitality, some were as heavy as stone, and some were as soft as water. These are the 5 elements. Seeing this scene, Zi-Chen's expression changed. This was the combination of the 5 golden bells, and they had actually manifested the 5 elements. Kill! Battle cries rang out, and the 5 golden bells shook, forming 5 forces that strangled Zi-Chen. So that's how it is. Looking at the power of the 5 elements in front of him, a light flashed in Zi-Chen's mind, and a fog was cleared. Chapter 49:30. The 5 golden bells transformed into the 5 elements and attacked Zi-Chen together. The Tao sword in front of Zi-Chen slashed down. The Tao sword buzzed and activated countless divine runes that spread out layer by layer. This was still a battle of divine runes, but the form had changed. They looked more beautiful and dangerous. Once swept by the divine runes, there would be nothing left of them. Clang! The 5 golden bells worked together and repelled the Tao sword. Zi-Chen took a step forward, and the aura around him surged as he punched out. At this moment, he had an imposing aura. This punch was extremely terrifying. It hit the golden bell and caused a huge tremor. The powerful ripples almost destroyed this world. Whoosh! The Dao sword attacked again, carrying a strong killing intent, but it was useless. Zichen's fist was still sharp, but under the combination of the 5 golden bells, his weakness in cultivation was revealed. "Kid, let's see if you can survive." Jeffrey sneered. The 5 golden bells had already suppressed Zichen. Now, all they had to do was slowly exhaust him to death. Boom! Zichen punched out with all his strength, but no matter how many times he tried, it was useless. However, he was not in a hurry. He looked around as if he was searching for something. Don't waste any more time. Kill him quickly to avoid any accidents. The young man saw Zichen's eyes move and felt that something was wrong. Okay. They nodded and then activated the golden bells with all their strength. In the next moment, 5 different powers rushed out from the golden bells. Like 5 pythons, they intertwined in the air and turned into a giant dragon of the 5 elements, which rushed toward Zichen. The divine rune world began to distort. The power of the giant dragon of the 5 elements had reached the critical point of shattering the world. It was very terrifying. If it were not for the 5 golden bells suppressing the world, it would have collapsed by now. If Zichen was hit, he would die without a doubt. Looking at the giant dragon of the 5 elements, Zichen's eyes became brighter and brighter. Along the way, he had seen many divine rune worlds, and among them, there was naturally a world of the 5 elements. In fact, this place was a divine glyph world of the 5 elements. All this time, he had not been able to find the location of the hidden power because he had not found the right method. Previously, when he combined the 5 elements, a flash of inspiration appeared in his mind, and he guessed where the hidden power was. Now he had been looking for it. Looking at the 5 elements giant dragon, Zichen's figure immediately rose into the air and rushed toward the sky. It seemed that he was fleeing in embarrassment. It's useless. The golden bell has blocked this world. You can't run. Just wait for your death. The young man smiled coldly. He had been guarding against Zichen's escape. The others also had smiles on their faces. They were certain that Zichen was going to die. At that moment, Zichen suddenly swung his sword at the sky. The sword left a mark in the air, forcing some of the divine patterns to appear. At the same time, his figure suddenly dodged, leaving behind an afterimage. Boom! As the 5 elements giant dragon approached, it immediately dispersed Zichen's afterimage. Its terrifying power fell on the divine patterns that appeared and exploded. In the sky, a huge gap appeared. It was the world that had been destroyed. Zichen's body shone brightly. He resisted the impact and rushed into the gap. In the next moment, the gap closed again. Seeing Zichen disappear, the smiles on their faces froze. They had clearly blocked this divine rune world. How did Zichen escape? Chase. However, their reaction was extremely fast. They immediately removed the seal and rushed out of this world with the golden bell in their hands. They chased after the neighboring world. In their minds, Zichen must have run to the neighboring world. However, after entering, they did not find anything. This caused them to be stunned. Then they quickly changed the world. Because they had the golden bell, they could walk freely in the various divine rune worlds. However, those who wanted to take advantage of the situation were not so lucky. These people had a difficult time because danger was everywhere. Zichen was now outside the divine rune world. In other words, this was a hidden small world. There was no danger inside. It was just a hub that connected this divine rune world. This world was isolated by the 5 elements divine runes. At the same time, the 5 elements were arranged in a mutually reinforcing and restraining manner. In the center, there was a lake of energy. It was suspended in the air, surrounded by the 5 elements divine runes. Zichen's eyes flashed. After confirming that there was no danger here, he jumped into the lake of energy. His body entered completely. He then closed his eyes and circulated his cultivation technique. The energy here was very pure. Although it had been countless years and its grade had decreased, its purity had not decreased. It was very suitable for Zichen. Buzz! Zichen's body trembled. Ripples appeared in the lake. Then countless amounts of energy poured into his body. Then it was refined and entered abdomen. There was no danger in the surroundings. The process of absorbing energy was very long. Zichen was not sure when those people would catch up. Now he could only try his best to refine as much energy as possible. As the energy entered his body, his cultivation level increased. The speed was much faster than normal cultivation. However, he was still very far away from breaking through. Jeffrey and the others returned without success. They had searched almost everywhere, but could not find Zichen. After confirming with the others that they had not seen Zichen, they returned to the world where Zichen had disappeared. Could it be that Zichen entered another strange place from here? Gino suddenly said. Naturally, this was a possibility. Thus, they flew to the place where Zichen had disappeared. The young man used the golden bell and attacked the air. Dong! The bell rang. Layers of ripples spread. However, this place was not broken. A part of the divine runes appeared. Everyone was shocked. This was the first time they had encountered this kind of situation. He must be inside. Gino was very excited. Let's work together to break this place open. The 5 of them worked together again. The power of the 5 great golden bells was activated. With a loud boom, the void began to tremble, showing signs of breaking open. Zichen, who was in that small world, heard the tremors. He knew that the 5 of them were about to find this place. Once the space was broken open, they would also descend. He increased the speed of the refinement, trying to break through again. Boom! 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 Booms sounded continuously. At a certain moment, the void shattered. A 5 elements giant dragon rushed out, releasing a terrifying aura. The 5 elements divine pattern formation guarding the energy activated automatically, creating a misty light that isolated this tyrannical aura outside. In the lake, only a few ripples were stirred up. It did not affect Zichen's refinement. There really is something good here. Damn it, he's hiding here alone to refine. Everyone rushed in. When they saw Zichen, their eyes all turned red. This brat was too lucky. He had found something good again and was refining here alone. Kill. Chapter 49:31. Seeing such a good thing, there was no reason to miss it. The 5 of them charged forward with their golden bells in hand. Battle cries shook the heavens, and the golden bell began to vibrate. Zichen opened his eyes and looked ahead. A ray of light flashed through his eyes. Buzz! The protective 5 elements divine rune was forcefully activated, and different kinds of energy surged out, blocking the 5 of them. Zichen began to refine the energy faster. At the same time, a gap appeared beside him. It was a forceful opening of a storage space. Since the 5 of them had already charged over, they didn't have so much time to refine the energy. Taking advantage of the 5 elements' divine runes obstruction, he could refine the energy while taking it. He didn't plan to leave a single drop behind. Seeing this, the 5 of them became even more furious. They fully controlled the power of the golden bell. Zichen, you're too arrogant. With so much energy, aren't you afraid of bursting? The young man controlled the largest golden bell to attack. At the same time, he shouted at Zichen. Zichen glanced at him, and his speed increased. This kind of energy, the more the better. Who would complain about having too much? The power of the golden bell was blocked by the 5 elements divine rune. This was the core of this place, and it was able to trap the heart. This place was also quite useful. Of course, it wouldn't be so easily defeated. Brat, I'll definitely kill you. Jeffrey gnashed his teeth. At this time, he had long since ignored Lord Black Dragon's words. because as long as he killed Zichin and obtained all the good things on him, Jeffrey was confident that he could fight Black Dragon. I'll say it again. If you have the ability, come in. Zichin glanced at Jeffrey and said coldly, I didn't want to provoke you, but you saw that I was easy to bully. So, everything that happened today is what you asked for. Brat, you're courting death. The golden bell above Jeffrey's head was fully activated. A scarlet-red light appeared like a fire dragon. It charged forward, but was blocked by the 5 elements divine rune. Take care of it. Don't break my golden bell. Zichen's body was bathed in light. The energy around him was rapidly decreasing. A part of it was absorbed by him, and a part of it was taken away by him. Within his abdomen, a tyrannical aura surged. Because of the infusion of this power, his improvement was great, and there were signs of a breakthrough. The others clearly felt this and became extremely anxious. Even Zichen, who was in the initial realm, needed the 5 of them to work together. Once he broke through, wouldn't his combat power be even stronger? Don't waste any more time. Let's kill him together, the young man shouted, and the golden bell above his head burst out with dazzling light. The other 4 people no longer hesitated. The golden bell, once again, turned into the 5 Elements Alliance. As it was fully activated, the 5 Elements giant dragon appeared and rushed forward. The 5 Elements divine pattern started to distort violently as a rumbling sound resounded throughout the entire space. Looking at the movements around him, Zichen's expression changed. The 5 golden bells were indeed terrifying when they joined forces. If this continued, the 5 Elements Great Array would definitely be broken through. The 5 Elements giant dragon collapsed in front of him, and the 5 Elements divine pattern dimmed. Again, Jeffrey shouted and activated the golden bell with all his strength. Don't hold back anymore. Otherwise, we'll only be letting this kid off easy. The young man and the other 3 nodded. This time, the golden bell trembled continuously in the air, and the ripples seemed to be about to shatter this world. 5 rays of light rushed out one after another and intersected in the air. This space began to distort violently. There was a hint of unwillingness in Zichen's eyes because the energy had not been completely absorbed. The power of the 5 golden bells was beyond his expectations. Right now, he did not even need to look to know that the 5 Elements divine pattern was about to shatter. The 5 Elements giant dragon rushed forward and slammed into the divine pattern. The divine pattern began to distort violently. Zichen soared into the air, and his immortal power circulated. Looking at the remaining power below, he had to retreat even though he was unwilling, because right now he was still unable to fight against the 5 golden bells. The path sword appeared in front of him. The moment the 5 Elements divine pattern broke apart, Zichen slashed open the space and fled in a flash. Just as he was about to disappear, he heard Jeffrey shouting to chase after him. Swoosh! Zichen ran out, and his figure appeared in the main hall. Right now, the divine pattern in the main hall was on the verge of collapse because of the loss of the core energy and the shattering of the protective divine pattern. One after another, existences jumped out from the world that was about to shatter. They were all people who had entered to take advantage of the situation. They did not have the golden bells, and it was difficult for them to move around in the divine pattern world. Of course, they had gained nothing. Now that they suddenly appeared, they were all depressed. Looking at Zichen, who was right in front of them, they were all stunned. Immediately after, their eyes were filled with excitement because their target was right in front of them. How could they miss such an opportunity? Swoosh! One of them rushed towards Zichen, holding a long sword in his hand. Sword light flashed, and there was a chilling sword intent. As soon as the other party moved, the others moved as well, and each of them displayed their killing moves. Almost all of them were at the high level of the trial, otherwise they would not have come here. Right now, They still had a certain level of confidence in facing Zichen. Zichen retreated, avoiding the two sword lights in front of him, and looked at the crowd coldly. "Kid, leave the opportunity, and I'll spare your life. Leave the thing behind. It's not something you should have." The people who came out shouted, and with great tacit understanding, they displayed their killing moves. Zichen didn't know when those 5 people had caught up, but he didn't dare to waste any time. In a flash, a golden light flashed in his sea of consciousness. His soul transformed into a small sword and swept through the surroundings. Everyone cried out in fear and retreated. The high-level cultivator, who was the leader, had a sword mark between his eyebrows, and his body fell backward. In addition to the soul attack, Zichen also used the Dao sword. Without the protection of the golden bell, the other party naturally could not survive. "If you want to die, come at me." Zichen looked at the crowd indifferently. Their eyes were filled with shock. They did not expect Zichen to be so powerful. This move shocked everyone, and no one dared to rush forward. Zichen rushed out of the main hall and headed outside. After a slight hesitation, the crowd followed. "Go kill Zichen first. What are you all doing here?" Within the shattered space, the golden bell stabilized the surroundings, preventing this place from continuing to collapse. Jeffrey was so angry that he shouted loudly. This was because after the 5-element divine pattern had shattered, the few of them had watched as Zichen ran away. However, they hadn't chased after him. Instead, they had been fighting over resources. The 4 of them did not move. They only cared about the resources in front of them. Jeffrey was furious, but he did not chase after him. Instead, he stayed behind. Otherwise, the 4 of them would benefit. In an instant, he even had the urge to kill the 4 of them. The young man seemed to have sensed it and glanced at him. In this way, the 4 of them gave Zichen enough time to leave. He quickly rushed outside and swept across the square. There were still people here looking for the scattered golden lights. After seeing Zichen, many people's expressions changed, and then they watched as Zichen escaped. When he came to the periphery, Alva and the others were waiting here. Zichen gestured for them to leave first, while he dived into the lake. Chapter 4932. Alva and the rest left quickly, while Zichen leaped into the lake. No one had caught up yet. Once he was at the bottom of the lake, Zichen felt a murderous intent. Worried that something might happen, he immediately went to the center of the lake. The spirit of massacre was still on the divine pattern, shining brightly. The murderous intent he felt before came from the spirit of massacre. Its murderous intent became even more terrifying. When it approached, even Zichen felt a chill run down his spine. Zichen did not immediately recall the spirit of massacre. Instead, he looked at the skeleton below the divine pattern. After such a long time of devouring by the spirit of massacre, there was no light on the skeleton anymore. Zichen looked carefully and found that the skeleton had already decayed. It seemed that it had released a lot of energy in an attempt to attack the spirit of massacre. Suddenly, Zichen noticed that there was a hidden light in the decaying skeleton. If not for his celestial spiritual eye, he would not have noticed it at all. The light was very faint at first, but when Zichen looked carefully with his celestial spiritual eye, he found that the light was extremely bright, even a little dazzling. The celestial spiritual eye saw its essence. "Is this the remaining power?" Zichen muttered to himself. At the same time, he signaled for the spirit of massacre to continue devouring, but it was useless. The being below seemed to have lost all signs of life. The divine pattern at the bottom of the lake was also collapsing. This proved that the other was really dead. But what was that strong light? Zichen recalled the spirit of massacre. Looking at the light below, he hesitated. "Where's Zichen?" On the square, the others chased out. Seeing those low-level beings looking for opportunities, someone immediately asked. "He's already gone." Someone replied, Everyone quickly chased out. When they reached the lake, the surface was already calm. No one cared about the lake anymore. Everyone chased out one by one. When they got out, they saw Alva and the rest, but did not see Zichin. "Let's go." When Helen saw this, she signaled for everyone to run without hesitation. It seemed that ever since they came here, they had not obtained any opportunities and had been running away. After them. Seeing this, the crowd immediately chased after him. Zichin and the others were the last to come out. When they came out of the space sealed by the golden bell, there was only an empty hall left. Zichin was gone, and so were the others. Gino was a little unwilling to give up as he searched the area, but he didn't find anything. What else is there? Even if there is, someone else would have gotten it first. The young man glanced at Gino and said, "Go kill Zichin. All the good stuff is on him. We can only kill him if we work together." Of course, they didn't have any objections. The two sides had already formed a grudge. If they didn't think of a way to get rid of him this time, then when they were alone, they might be killed one by Zichin. The few of them rushed out and arrived at the plaza. Gino asked Zichin and received the same answer. The 5 of them rushed out with the golden bell in hand, passing by the side of the lake. During this time, the young man glanced at the lake, but didn't pay too much attention to it. He just rushed out like that. After obtaining so many good things, according to normal logic, one would run out and leave first. It was also at this time that the hesitant Zichin made up his mind to go down and take a look. His eyes flashed, and he waved his hand to release a burst of energy. This previously very powerful divine pattern formation was easily broken by him just like that. There was no murderous, intense surging, but there was a strong chill rushing up. The lake water didn't pour down. It was an independent space. Zichin released his soul force to sense the surroundings. When he didn't discover anything out of the ordinary, he descended to the ground. Above his head, the divine pattern that had disappeared earlier flickered and actually healed again. Zichin felt a strong pressure fall on him. This was a sealing force. In an instant, he felt all the power in his body being sealed. His soul power, physical strength, and abdomen's energy all disappeared, and he became an ordinary person. This made his expression change drastically, thinking that he had encountered an ambush. Right at this time, that sealing force that fell on him suddenly disappeared, and Zichin felt the existence of power again. He was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. He could also use his immortal spiritual eye. Looking up at the divine pattern formation above him, Zichin's face was filled with fear. It must have sensed my power, so it didn't seal me. However, this divine pattern formation doesn't even have 1/10,000th of its previous power, yet it still has such power. I really don't know how terrifying it was at its peak. And this existence was suppressed here for countless years, so it's obviously not an extraordinary existence. Zichin walked closer and could no longer see the complete skeleton because all the bones had turned into ashes and scattered on the ground. He could faintly see the outline of a huge monster. He waved his hand again, and a burst of energy swept past. All the ashes disappeared, leaving behind a dazzling white light. This white light was a large bone, sparkling like white jade. It looked like a 2-headed bone stick. The light was as gentle as jade, and there was no dangerous aura. Zichin bent down to pick it up. The bone stick was heavy in his hand, and there was no remnant energy in it. It was just a bone stick. He tried to tap it with his finger, and it made a crisp sound like steel. Zichin was slightly startled, and then he waved it around. The air seemed to be torn apart, and it constantly distorted. This was a bone left behind in the body of a huge monster. He didn't know what happened, but it didn't dissipate, but completely turned into jade. Zichin didn't have a suitable weapon now. Although this bone looked a little different, it was extremely sturdy and suitable to be used as a weapon. The only regret was that it didn't have any power. However, Zi-chan could sense that in terms of hardness, it surpassed the previous ring. As for the flowing knife, it couldn't compare to it. This was definitely an unexpected gain. As long as he refined it well, he might be able to create a powerful technique. After all, it was an extraordinary existence when it was alive. Zi-chan put away the bone stick and went up. The divine pattern that had just healed didn't stop him. After easily breaking it, Zi-chan flashed up. At this moment, the divine pattern below collapsed, and the lake water flowed down, filling up the space in an instant. The entire lake water became incomparably clear, and the corpses from before scattered like smoke. Everything returned to silence, and it disappeared without a trace. Zi-chan glanced at the lake, then flashed away. This time, he really returned with a rewarding trip. Walking out of the great array, Zi-chan walked towards the exit. He was no longer the same as when he first came. His power had increased by a lot, and he feared nothing. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.